Welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. I have a very special guest today and a co-host. My co-host is Adam Blake from H2O. Say what's up, Adam.
Hello, everybody.
And my guest today is Craig Setari from Queens, New York. You may know him from his work from the bands such as Straight Ahead, Youth of Today, Rest in Pieces, Agnostic Front, Sick of It All, Creep Division, and he also plays live with the Cro-Mags. Welcome to the podcast, Craig Setari. Craig Ahead.
What's up? How's it going?
Good.
Thanks
How
for
are
having
you?
me. Good to see you guys. It's been a minute.
I know, it's been a long time.
A couple days out in L.A., relax, hang out with my friends.
Yes.
A couple of coffees like 10 minutes ago.
Eat some good food.
I would say that Craig has the longest resume in hardcore.
Best resume in hardcore, definite candidate, I would say.
I played in a lot of bands,
Yeah.
you know?
We can add live bass for Madball back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Not really, no.
Did you play bass live for Madball back in the day?
When Madball was an idea, I was the bass player, but when they actually recorded, I showed up about 90 minutes, 2 hours late to the recording session at Don Fury's. And when I showed up, they were like, Vinny's like, "Kid, we kicked you out of the band. You're too late. Roger's gonna play bass, but let him use red." So my red bass is on the first Madball recording. So So what happened was I stepped back, and myself and Mark Ryan, we wound up singing backups because Mark Ryan came with me an hour and a half late.
Shout out to Mark Ryan.
Mark Ryan, what's up?
Mark Ryan, Super Touch.
My man.
Searching for the light.
Searching for
Yep.
the light. So before we get into where you're at now with your life, because you've been doing this a really long time, let's get back to like Queens. You were born in Queens, correct?
Yeah, home of the Ramones.
Home of the Ramones.
Murphy's Law.
Yes, and many other.
Spider-Man.
Token
Many
entry,
others,
token
many
entry
others.
too.
That's right,
token
many
entry.
others, many others.
So, how are you in school?
Going to school, I had like an inability to focus and concentrate. My IQ was high, my test scores were really high, but I had some type of problem with focusing for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I think that was because I had my childhood at my home life was kind of crazy when I was young, you know?
Okay.
My father was a police officer and an alcoholic.
Didn't know that.
He was actually investigated for being a mob hitman while he was a cop, but never indicted. There's all kinds of crazy stories. He single-handedly set the women's movement back 6 years. That's a whole other story, though. He was like a real,
Piece of work.
a real piece of work. But
Shit.
God bless his soul. He's passed away now. I'm not trying to insult the man. I'm just telling it how I remember it. But so I had childhood trauma. You know what I mean? I saw crazy things when I was very, very young.
Brothers and sisters?
I grew up with my mother and my brother. My mother and brother, the three of us were a very tight and loving family unit.
Yeah.
But my alcoholic father was swirling around when I was very young, and it was kind of like really scary stuff going on. You know what I mean?
Damn.
I saw like real extreme violence, guns shoved in my mother's mouth, the cops showing up and being like, "Rocky, put the gun away. Don't make us come back here. Come on, we don't want this to be in the paper." Meanwhile, my mother's a bloody mess, and I'm
Holy
I'm
shit.
3 years old, 4 years old, seeing this. You know what I mean? Crying like, What do I do? You know what I mean? Like crazy
Wow, that's
stuff.
a lot for a
But
kid to deal
so
with.
so
Yeah.
I had this inability to concentrate in school, and I had these. I was very aggressive as a little kid, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I was extremely introverted. So I would go hyper, but then when I was in public, I would go really quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I had this private hyperactivity and then this real quiet thing, shy thing in public. So
Interesting.
so yeah, school was tough, but they kept putting me in the special classes, meaning like the intelligent classes, the SP they
advanced,
called it,
yeah.
advanced classes. But then I wouldn't do any of my work, and they'd be like, "Why aren't you doing your work? Like your writing is so nice, your math scores were so high," and I'd just be like, "What?" Like I just couldn't really focus, and that's why I'm a hardcore guy today.
I think that's a pretty common story for a lot of
Yeah.
musicians.
It's kind of the way it goes. There was something twisted in there, you know what I mean? But I don't really have those problems now. Not that I notice. Maybe I do. I don't know.
Did you play sports in school?
No, not really. I was when I was little. I played baseball.
Yeah.
I liked baseball a lot. So when I was a
That's
little kid, I played baseball. And I'd play games in the kids in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I was in Little League, and I loved baseball. It was a sport that I really liked as a kid.
Handball.
Handball. I played handball growing up in Queens.
Yeah.
Stickball, obviously.
Stickball, yeah.
A little bit of basketball. I wasn't like a super athlete or anything like that, but I was like a regular kid in the neighborhood. I was kind of small and skinny. I was very light, and most of the kids in my neighborhood were older. So in sports, I had a little trouble in my neighborhood. But then when I would play in leagues, I would do okay.
Yeah.
What was the first music you fell in love with?
It's hard to say, really. I mean, when I was really little, my mother would play stuff in the house like 70s hits, Glenn Campbell and stuff like
It's on my
that.
list too, Adam. You're
Stuff
smart.
like that I dug, you know what I mean? Whatever I
Yeah.
would hear. And then, I mean, you know, that Grease, the movie Grease.
Great movie.
I loved that soundtrack when I was a little kid. I just thought the songs were really good.
Yeah.
And then right around the same time, I discovered Black Sabbath. My brother,
Sick.
my brother and his friend Lyman, on a rainy day, they locked me in Lyman's room, right? So they locked me in Lyman's room and they put on the first Sabbath album, you know, with the rain and everything.
Yeah.
And they grabbed my arm and they stuck a needle in my arm filled with water and they said it was heroin. I was 6 years old.
What?
And yeah, they pretended they were shooting heroin and then they kind of forced and they stuck me with the needle and I was crying hysterically like I'm going to die. And then as soon as they stuck the needle in my arm, like just in my skin and like pushed the needle a little bit, they shut the lights and locked me in the room with the first Sabbath record on. So I cried and was banging on the door.
Holy shit.
And yeah, it was kind of crazy. It was traumatic.
That's
you know?
so traumatic.
Yeah, it's like it was like 1975 or 6 or whatever.
I mean, on the one hand, they're the worst friends ever, but on the other hand, they did introduce you to Black Sabbath.
Yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So what happened was when they finally let me out of the room, I was crying. I ran home, and then the next week, I like knocked on Lyman's door, and my brother and him were hanging out, and I was like, oh, I want to listen to it again. I was like, I'm not going to cry this time, I promise. And they were like, all right, come on in. And they played me the whole record, and I was like,
That's amazing.
into it. You know what I mean?
Holy shit. So did you end up graduating from high school or you got in bands?
I was in bands. I wound up going to high school, and then when I was in 10th grade, I actually stopped going to high school to go on Youth of Today tour.
Okay.
So it was a tour out west, and then it was actually a tour down south originally, where it was during school time. I got my GED. My mother's like, "What are you doing? Finish school, blah blah blah." And I was like, "No, I'm gonna get my GED and go on tour." She was like, "Why are you doing this?" But then she understood, and when she saw what I did, you know, in the end, she always supported me.
Yeah.
She always gave me like total love and support. So she was into the idea that I was into music, because she was what I found out later in life was my mother, when she was very young, left Germany and started traveling all over the place when she was like 18. And she was traveling and going to places. She was working for the royal family in England as a nanny, so she could see England.
Shit.
And then she came to America, and she wanted to explore America. And then what happened was my father, who was a cop, happened to meet her when she got off the plane at the airport. He was a cop at JFK, or actually back then it was probably Idlewild Airport, I guess. So he was there, and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he like charmed her and wound up taking her on a date. So
Holy shit.
you know, as much as that messed up her being the traveler, because she has a travel gene like I do, the wanderer thing, but it got totally cut off by meeting him and having 2 kids, which she probably didn't want to do. But you know, at the same time, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So
Wow. So how did you even find the guys in Youth of Today? How did you get into the punk rock path?
you know, I was young. It was like 1980, and my brother had a friend that I was in grade school. I was in like 5th grade or 5th grade, I think I was. I was 10 years old, and my brother started going to high school like 9th grade. So my brother had music class with Danny Lilker. You know who that is?
Legend.
So Danny Lilker was, you know, he already had been playing for a few years. He started playing really young as well. So he would come to my house for lunch, and he was friends with my brother, and he was like really nice. So he'd come in the house, and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up? What's your deal, man? You got the long hair." I was like, "What's your story?" He's like, "You know, I'm into music, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "You like Sabbath? You like Aerosmith?" He's like, "You like The Who?" He goes, "Yeah, I love that stuff." So he's like, "You know, check this out." And he gives me like a Motorhead record or whatever, you know?
Damn.
And I'm like, "Oh, this is great." You know what I mean? And he's like, "Yeah, check this out." And he gives me like whatever he gives me. He gave me a bunch of like rock metal type stuff at first. And then he brought over a bass, and he was like saying to my brother, he goes, "Hey, we're going to start a band called Anthrax, and I want you to play bass because I want to play guitar instead of bass." So he was teaching my brother bass, but I was the only one that cared about it. So I would play all day, you know what I mean, and figure stuff out and be like, "Hey, when you come over for lunch, Danny, check this out. I figured this out." And he'd be like, "Oh, that's good. Yeah, you got it right. Okay. You know, figure this part out next." I'm like, "That part's hard." He's like, "I'll give you an idea. The key changes to this." And I'd be like, you know what I mean? And he explained to me how scales work and keys and how you switch. He explained the rough rudiment of it, and then I just took it from there. You know what I mean? So, you know, my brother played a little bit. He wasn't that interested, so I wound up picking up the bass. And then by like 1982, it was punk rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 80 to 82 was like metal stuff and rock stuff. And then it, you know, turned into the Exploited. And
then you went to study going to shows?
Yeah, I listened up like punk and hardcore for like 2 years. I got my hands on everything I could get my hands on. 82 and 83, I just was all over it. And I started playing in a band in 83, a local neighborhood band. And we did like covers. We did like Motorhead songs. We did an Exploited song. And we did like one show, like a battle of the bands. Came in second place, set the tone for my career. I always use that line. But the band that won was like the rich parents who rented the PA, those kids' band. So, and it turns out Armand, Pete, and Lou were the roadies for that show because we asked Armand to play in the band. And this is how I met Pete and Lou and Armand. The drummer for that band lived a block away from Pete and Lou. Gotcha. So when we would rehearse, those guys would come out and they were like, hey, this is Pete, this is Lou. And I met a bunch of other people. And then one day Armand came down and they wanted him to play guitar, but we were playing our first show at a church. So he was like, it's hypocritical for me to play a church. I won't do it. Because he was like anti-religion.
Wow, respect.
Yeah, he was he was like a metal punk guy back then. It was like, this was like 1982 probably.
He had long hair too, I remember.
Yeah, this is probably like the end of 82. So we got Victor from Reagan Youth to play guitar. You know Vic Venom?
Yeah, I know the name, yeah.
We got him to play guitar. And we played the one gig. And that band broke up. And so right after that gig, I was saying to Danny Looker and to Pete and Lou, I was like, I would talk to them once in a while. I was like, I want to go to shows. And they're like, yeah, you got to go all the way downtown, school. And we got to find a day when it's, you know what I mean? Like, and Danny would say the same thing. So like most of 83 went by where I didn't go to a show.
How old were you then? How old were you then? 13?
13?
Yeah.
So like 83, I was like trading tapes with people. I would like write people and they'd send me like a tape.
Sick.
You know what I mean? Like tape trading all over the world and stuff like that to get stuff, trading like 7 inches and stuff
Pre-internet.
like that. Yeah, like pre-internet, like you write to somebody and they send you their demo. You send them like your stuff. So then 83 was pretty much me listening to radio shows and what was that radio show? I remember I was going to go to a show in 83. It was Ernie's earlier band was playing at Coventry.
Oh, shit, before Token Entry.
Yeah, Gilligan's Revenge.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's go to this show, but it didn't work out because I couldn't get there, and I had like homework to do and stuff like that. So 83 slips by, and I'm listening to punk and getting into it all. You know what I mean? And then 84 comes, and I go to my first show.
How did you find these people to trade tapes with?
That's true. Good
you
question.
Buy like you would get like like a fanzine.
Maxim Rock and Roll or something?
Fanzines, all stuff like that. You know what I mean? Whatever fanzines you could get your hand on at
send
the
a
local
dollar
record store, send $1. You talk to somebody over there and they go, hey, write to this guy. And they give you the address and you write to him and he sends you something. Like, it was like, that's the way it worked back then.
It's totally trustworthy too back then too. And
it
took a couple
honor
weeks.
system, right?
Yeah. It was like cool. And then boom.
It took weeks too to get shit though.
Weeks. It built up like that. You know, it was like, you had to really want it. You know what I mean?
And so I remember.
Yeah. So you're 13 years old. You hadn't tried drinking or smoking nothing. You weren't like a party or nothing.
I tried. Okay. Sure. First time I smoked pot, I was 6.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So the guys in my neighborhood were like my brother's friends. They all. This is the 70s.
Is this the kids that pretended to inject you with heroin?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those kids.
Yeah, that guy used to smoke pot all the time. You know what I mean? So like, and back in those days, growing up in New York, everybody got high and drunk.
Yeah.
Drugs were all over the place. So I would I started smoking pot young, really 12. I started smoking pot regularly at 11, I'd say. And I would drink beer and some liquor and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I was into like getting high. I was like a burnout kid. I was into music. And then
you had long hair too?
Long hair, yeah, probably till I was about 14.
Yeah.
Like white trash.
Mm-hmm. White trash.
Dirtbag style. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a fucking Motorhead dirtbag. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So then how soon after that did you start going to shows?
84. I started going to shows.
14.
I started going to shows in 84. And first show I went to, I go with Danny and another guy. And, you had to take the train in. It was actually a night show at CB's. So I go in and Big Charlie's there. Big Charlie Hankins, rest his soul.
Peace, yeah.
And the way I knew Big Charlie was, I left this part out earlier. Big Charlie would come to my house for lunch.
Gotcha.
Because my brother was an alternate on the Bayside High School football team. So Big Charlie was like the star of the team. So and he knew Danny also because he was into punk.
Yeah.
So Danny was into hardcore and metal and punk, and so was Big Charlie. So Big Charlie would come over my house and my mother would make lunch. My mother would be like, oh, Charlie's here. I have to make 20 sandwiches now, you know what I mean? Because the guy was so big. So when I went to my first show, I walk in and Charlie's there. And I'm like, Charlie, what are you doing? He goes, kid, come here. He goes, in between bands, he goes, everybody. He grabs me on the stage at CB's. He goes, everybody, you see this kid? This is my friend. He's a good friend of mine. He goes, he's a good kid. And everybody's like, hey, what's up? So I met everybody. I met Stigma. I met everybody. And the whole show, I danced on his shoulders, and I was like moshing the whole show. And I was like, it was my first show.
That's awesome. So he took you on stage and publicly presented you to
there was only there was like 50 or 60 people at the show.
Back then,
it was like a small show, you know what I mean? But it was cool. And
That's
then,
dope.
and I knew everybody. And then, like, I was going, as soon as I went to my first show, every week I went to matinee
had to go back.
every Sunday.
Yeah.
And as soon as I went, within like 2 or 3 weeks, I met like Tommy Carroll. He's just started going to shows, and I met all these people. And, I started like, hey, I play bass. Hey, come jam with us. Come jam with us. Come jam with us. And everybody was like, oh, you can really play. Because I practiced all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I know how to play.
You're waiting
know
for
what I
this
mean?
moment for years, like not going into the city at home.
At home practicing, listening to tapes.
Ready,
Because at that point, I didn't have money to go into the city.
Yeah.
I had nothing. Plus, I was like 13. It's kind of like, I'm going to go out on,
The dangerous back then.
by myself
Yeah.
into the city in like, early 80s. It's like, I didn't really have the connection, But by the time I was 14, it was like I could go anywhere I want. I mean, at 13, I could go anywhere I want too, but it was like,
The city might have been a bridge too far.
yeah, I'm like going out and riding my bike all night. You know what I mean? Kind of
Yeah.
going out. You know what I mean? This was like buses and trains, and you're on the Lower East Side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's different
kind of
world.
thing, you know what I mean?
That's cool. Your mom was so open-minded about
Yeah,
it
she
too.
was cool about it.
So then the first band, what is it? The first band practice? Like who you end up jamming with first?
I played in that local neighborhood band
Yeah.
when I was like probably 13 or something like that.
But then like in the city
12,
band,
13.
like a
Uh,
established band.
I started playing with Tommy had that band NYC Mayhem with Gordon and some other guy, and Tommy was like, listen, these guys are playing like crossover metal. I don't want to play that. I want to play like hardcore type stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, listen, they said, we're going to kick this guy out. You want to jam with us? I said, okay. So they kicked the guy out, and we jammed a bunch, and we put together some new material. We kept a few of the older songs, and that NYC Mayhem band.
Yeah.
And then we like right away, as soon as I joined them, we had a gig right away. We played like we played the Anthrax Club in Connecticut, the first
It was a great
Anthrax
spot.
that was a tiny little basement. We played there with Mental Abuse. That was like in 84 at some point. And then we played CB's, and I think that was in 84 as well. And we played that show, and then we just started playing. Mental Abuse loved us, so we'd always play with them in Jersey, Connecticut. And then we played CB's with the Psychos.
Psychos, yeah.
Yeah, we were like, it was us and the Psychos, and Token Entry was on that bill,
Yeah.
and so was the Numbskulls, and that was like 85, sometime in 85, and all throughout 84 and 85, that Mayhem band just played tri-state area shows, tons
Yeah.
of them. We'd play like every month, every 2 weeks, you know what I mean? It's constantly playing.
I mean,
whatever.
so you left school so early. You were too young to get a job. So you were just kind of hanging.
No, but at that point, I was in school.
Okay.
At that point, I didn't
Okay.
stop going to high school until 86.
Okay.
So I would go to school and just do weekend gigs. I'd get my brother's friends to drive me, whoever we could get to drive us. Like I'd be like,
Yeah.
Joe, take me to, I got to play out in like Dover, New Jersey.
Damn.
He'd be like, what? I'd be like, you got a car? Take me. All right, kid, I'll take you. What, it's the music thing? All right, yeah, that's good. You keep doing that, kid. You're good at that, So my brother's friends would take me. And then when I got a little, probably 85, I met this guy, God rest his soul, Tony Carangello, Unpredictable Tony. He was a friend of mine. So when I was like maybe 15, I met him, and I was just going to high school, and he was a year or two older, and he was my friend, and he was like, yeah, I like some of that stuff. He's like, I like DRI. I was like, well, check this shit out if you like that. You know what I mean? Turned him on to Minor Threat, the Bad Brains. He was like, oh, shit. So I was in a band, and he was like, yo, let me go to your shows. He started coming to the shows with his friend Elvis. So then he would drive me to the shows,
His friends. Oh, that's awesome.
Was there any other plan apart from music at that point, or was it just I'm playing music for life? That's it.
I don't know about for life. I was like, that's all I cared about.
Yeah.
I would come home from school. I would play the bass. I would listen to stuff. I would write riffs. I would play the bass. I would figure songs out. Do it all day. All day. Stop to eat. Play the bass. Listen to songs. Write a song. Call somebody.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. I got this idea. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay. Blah, blah, blah. That's all I cared about. That's all I did.
Damn.
That's it.
So what came first, Straight Ahead or Youth of Today?
Straight Ahead was, so I started playing in that Mayhem band, and we played a bunch of shows in like 84 to 85,
Yeah.
and then the summer of 85 ends, and Mayhem breaks up because Gordon was like, you guys want to play like this Minor Threat hardcore stuff. I don't want to do that. I want to play metal. So we were like, okay.
Shit.
We were like, okay, that's cool. And so Tommy was like, I'll sing. So we'll get another drummer. So I was hanging out I said, I have a guitar player. I had Rob that played in Rest in Pieces and Helmet. And Rob was in this band Smegma with me, probably in 83, right before Mayhem. And I used to take the train to Corona, Queens, go to his basement and play with him and Richie, who was the first bass player for Sick of It All.
Oh, shit.
They were
Cipriano.
two guitar players. So we had this band that we played stuff, and it was like crossover type stuff, punk and metal kind of mixed, really fast stuff, really kind of fast, like real smashing kind of stuff. And so I said, I got this guy Rob, he'll play guitar, he's really good. So I'm telling this to Armand outside one day. I go, yeah, we got to get a drummer, we're gonna get Rob. He knew Rob. I said, we're gonna get Rob to play guitar. He goes, I'll play drums. I go, you don't play drums. He goes, I'll get some sticks and I'll give it a shot. I was like, all right, so we'll rehearse.
Damn.
I said, in 2 weeks we're gonna rehearse. He goes, okay. So I think what he did was he like went to his friend's house and like played his friend's drums after school, like a bunch of times over those 2 weeks where we said we're gonna rehearse in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So he started practicing like the drums, and so we rehearsed with him, and he played okay. He knew the material.
Yeah.
We did a couple of old Mayhem songs, and I was like, we'll do this cover and mess around. And he played, and he was okay. So we were like, all right. And then we said, okay, so we're gonna take this gig at CB's. And we're going to go under the name Straight Ahead. I didn't like the name Straight Ahead at first because back then I was still getting high.
Gotcha.
So I was like, kind of like, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't want to be a straight edge band. You know what I mean? It was
Tommy was straight edge though back then.
Yeah, it's just like, this is like the fall of 85, I guess.
Yeah.
So, we played CB's as Straight Ahead. And Tommy sang, and Rob played guitar, and Armand played drums, and I played bass. So that's how Straight Ahead started.
That's amazing.
What came next?
And then Straight Ahead was playing, and I remember Ray and Purcell came to see Youth of Today. Straight Ahead play CB's probably in the spring of '86. So we already played a couple gigs, and he came to see us at CB's, and he danced to every song, sang along.
Wow.
He had the tape or whatever, the demo, and so after that, like I guess Tommy was tried out playing drums for Youth of Today.
Oh shit.
And then he wrote me a letter. Like, hey, I want you to join with me and John and Tommy and play bass.
What's your letter?
Yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
He wrote you like a 4-page letter. I have it somewhere at home. It's like we can do great things together. Imagine the people we can reach. Blah blah blah. All four of us with the same ideas. Blah blah blah.
That's fucking.
And I like hardcore, and I like music. I liked, and I liked Youth of Today. I had the 7-inch, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of like Minor Thready kind of hardcore. I was like, I'm into it. I was like, I'll play in your band, but I wasn't straight edge or anything. But hanging out with those guys, they were like, why would you smoke pot? What's the point? And I was like, well, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no. And they kind of got me into like the whole.
Some persuasive dudes there.
But no, but it was, they would just, at that point, it was like, why would you get high? Why aren't you like commanding your own reality? And I was like,
damn.
But I was a shy little kid. I was like, I was like, something, you're right. And I tried it and I did it. And it helped me a lot.
And
how I got a great benefit from playing with Youth of Today. People think, oh, it was a trend. It was this. I was a little like kid from Queens getting high with bad influences left over from the 70s and trauma from childhood. So like once I found like, hey, I could take command of my own reality, that was a start to me coming out of my shell and being who I was. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Powerful lesson.
That was a crazy tour you guys did too. Richie was talking about Empress when he came out Defenders and played, and all those shit, that Cali run you guys did back then. It was the Richie lineup.
Okay, yeah. Fenders. Okay, I remember that. Yeah. And Murphy's Law was touring with the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
So we went to that show, and then the next day we played with Murphy's Law at Fenders. Yep, I remember that. We spent the whole summer staying at Dan O'Mahony's house.
Wow.
In Orange County. So and we stayed at his house. And at a certain point, his parents were like, "These guys have been here for months. They got to go."
Damn.
So then we stayed in what's his name? The guitar player for come on. We stayed in his garage.
Inside Out?
No. His father didn't want us staying in the house, so we stayed in his garage. Walk and pick oranges every day and lemons.
That's awesome, man.
It was a straight edge band from
Chain of Strength?
Chain of Strength.
There we go.
The guitar player for Chain of Strength.
Wow.
We stayed there. So that was a summer in California. I was young, but I was like I hadn't come out of my shell yet.
You're very sheltered.
I was very, very shy and very introverted.
Dude, how old are you?
I'm like 15 or 16. So I'm really shy, and those guys were like, "Hey, Bo." They were like outgoing. They were like kind of like they had like a little bit of a jock mentality. You know what I
A
mean?
little
Youth
older
of
than
today
you
guys,
too, yeah.
They were older. They were like, you know, graduated high school or whatever. You know what I mean? And I was still like a kid. So they were like, you know, it taught me some lessons though. It taught me like how to deal with people a little better. I don't think I effectively dealt with them at that point because I was so young and so shy. I hadn't come out of my shell yet. But then after that, eventually, the next year I joined Agnostic Front, and that's what made me that woke me up to the world is like this. You got to be able to function in it. It brought out who I am today for the most part.
I feel it's a similar story.
Boot
from
camp.
Adam going from shelter to H2O. I feel it's a similar situation.
Boot camp.
Yeah, totally.
You need it.
100%.
AF taught me a lot. AF kind of manned me up. You know what I mean?
So you were telling me, we spoke about this a while back, that at one point you were basically being discussed as being either in Murphy's Law or Agnostic Front, and they were going to choose for you which band you were going to join, right?
Yeah.
Like Jimmy and Vinny were like deciding who was going to take you, like drafting you into their bands.
Yeah, I was being drafted, yeah. So the way that worked was, so Youth of Today, I wound up quitting Youth of Today after that tour in the West Coast. Came home. I didn't really, you know, those guys, you know, like I was the outsider in that band because I was the shy little kid.
Totally.
Grew up really poor. You know what I mean? Had childhood trauma. So I was like different than them. I didn't fit in really. And I didn't know how to really handle myself at that point. I was still sheltered a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So I quit that band. No hard feelings. The guys are all still my friends today. It's, you know,
How many years were you in that band?
I was in that band for like a year, like 86. I was in that band from like the spring of 86 till probably like the turn of 87, spring of 87.
Gotcha.
So I wound up leaving that band, only band I ever quit.
Wow.
So I wound up leaving that band and restarting Straight Ahead. So I was excited about that because I really liked Straight Ahead musically and it was fun to play. But then Tommy, we had a blowout one day at rehearsal because Tommy was kind of unpredictable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was a little like bipolar, unpredictable, wild man. You know, he's my friend. I love him. But he was like hard to deal with on a daily basis. So the band broke up and I had no band.
Damn.
I was like, I went home. I was like, shit, I have no band. So then Vinny calls me, Stigma, and he goes, or I see him at a show maybe, I can't remember, but he goes, listen, Kabula left. Or no, it was the guy Alan was playing. Kabula had been out and they did that Liberty and Justice album and they kicked him out. They kicked him out because something personal happened with them and this guy. So Vinny said, listen, because Vinny used to always tell me when I was little, he'd see like Mayhem play and he'd be like, you're a good kid. You jump up and down. You're so energetic and you can play. He was like, one day you're going to be in my band, kid. And I'd be like, no way. I got Agnostic Front. You guys are like a big band. How am I going to be in Agnostic Front? He goes, listen, mark my words. One day you're going to be in my band, kid. He goes, I got my eye on you. I'd be like, okay. You know, he was really nice when I was a kid. Always very nice, Stigma. So then he called me up. He goes, see, kid, or when I saw him maybe at a show, he goes, I always told you you'd be in my band, and now you're going to be. He goes, you know, we need a new bass player. I want it to be you. It's going to be you. So we're going to rehearse in like 2 weeks or whatever.
Damn.
So I go, okay, great. I'm into it. He goes, learn all the songs. I learned them all in one night because I kind of knew them all anyway.
Yeah.
But like I could figure stuff out. Musically, my ear is pretty good. I can figure stuff out fast. So boom, knew everything. And then Todd, I'm hanging out one day. And Todd Youth, my buddy, rest in peace, Todd Youth. God bless your soul. So Todd, we're hanging out. I used to hang out with Todd a lot, like 86, 87. I would hang out with Todd all the time. Maybe the end of 85. I don't remember exactly when. But we were buddies. We would hang out all the time. I'd sleep at Ray B's house all the time because we would hang out downtown. So Todd is like, listen, you know, we need a new bass player. So I want it to be you, you know. And they go, we're going to try out this other guy, Chuck. I go, I know Chuck. Chuck's my friend. Chuck Val, rest his soul.
Peace. God
bless him. What a great man.
Yeah.
He is. I'll say is because he's out there somewhere. But a tragedy that he was killed. Man. And it's a sad one. I cried like a baby when that happened because he was always my friend. He always used to bring amps for me. So I would play CBs with Straight Ahead and I would have no amp. And he'd call me up like a few days before the show. He'd be like, listen, so for the show, I'm going to bring my... And I wouldn't even ask him. And I'd be like, no, I got something. He'd be like, you don't have anything. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't. And he'd be like, so I'm going to bring my amp. He'd like kind of force me to take his amp, which was really nice. You know what I mean? I would try to be like, no, I'll figure something out. Just try not to hassle him because he was such a good dude. So he would always do that because he had equipment. You know, back then he had like a job and I didn't have a job. So he was
Have you ever had a job?
Yeah, I've had tons of jobs, but we'll get into that later. I worked hard. Believe me, I know about work. I'm not some pampered kid.
No, we know that. I know you. I know.
Where were we? I'm babbling on like a storm.
You're talking what band now? He's talking Agnostic Front.
He's talking about getting drafted
into
Agnostic Front.
Right.
With Murphy's Law.
We got to go back. I'll get the story out, and then we'll go back and forth a little bit.
So Todd Youth.
So Todd Youth says, play with us. I go, okay, great. So I go to the rehearsal, and I play with him, right? And I think this is how it went. I talked to Todd. Todd said, play with us. I go to the rehearsal. It's myself and Chuck. So we both play a couple of songs. Sounds good when we both play. Chuck was a really good player. I'm a good player, you know. So we both play. Sounds great. And, you know, like, they're like, you know, yeah, it sounds great with both of you. Okay, like, let's play some more. So they light up a big spliff, and I don't smoke, but Chuck does.
Okay.
Right? So then we play a few more songs, and it sounds really good with both of us. And, like, Todd's like, you know, they talk for a minute. Like, me and Chuck leave the room. They talk for a few minutes, and then as I'm leaving, you know, Todd's like, listen, you know, we're going to jam with both of you again because you both did a great job, and, like, we don't really know who to pick, right? We don't know what to do. So, you know, we'll see what happens. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I go home, and I used to carry my bass in a cardboard box because I didn't have a case.
Yeah.
So I had a big cardboard box. So I'm walking home with this cardboard. I take the train home, big cardboard box. And I'm walking up the stairs to my apartment, and my mother pulls the door up, and she goes, Craig, Vinny Stigma's on the phone for you? And this is how it happened.
Wow.
So I go, okay, hold on. So I go up the steps, and I'm like, I put my bass down. I go, Vinny, what's up? What are you doing? He goes, listen, kid, I talked to Jimmy, and Jimmy's taking the other kid, and we're taking you, and I told you you'd be in my band one day.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, cool. And
That
he goes,
is crazy.
and he goes to me, he goes, yeah, they're taking him, we're taking you. So he goes, listen, in 2 weeks we're gonna rehearse, learn all the songs. This is what happened. Before, when I said that I saw him at a show, I couldn't remember if it was a call or that. It was a call on the way home from Murphy's Law practice.
So amazing.
So then I saw Todd like a couple days later. Todd's like, yeah, you know, Vinny and Jimmy talked and worked it out. Vinny really wanted you, and he goes, and Todd's Chuck smokes pot, so we're gonna do it like that. It's better off that he's with us because he smokes pot. I was like, all right, cool. So the only time I ever tried out for a band, the only time I didn't get an audition was that time. And you know why? Because the Better Man won, God rest his soul, the late, great Chuck Val.
Yeah, man. Nice. That's amazing, man. That's crazy.
And that's that. And then I played in AF.
And how long did AF for? That was a while, man.
I joined AF in like the end of the summer of '87 and played with them till the spring of '93.
Yeah.
At which point I immediately joined Sick of It All.
But that lineup with AF with Matt Henderson and Stigma and you was so good.
At first it was Steve Martin on guitar.
That's right.
87 and 88 was 87, 88, and maybe into 89 a little was Steve Martin, and then Roger went away.
That's right.
So Roger was away for like a year and a half or whatever. So when he came out, we started playing, and Steve Martin had been working on some other stuff. So he was like, no, I'm not going to play anymore, because he went on to be like a professional in the music industry.
Yeah.
So he did his own thing, and we tried out all these guitar players, and a million of them, and some of them were okay. We almost took this guy that played lefty, and but Roger was always saying, no, there's this kid in Minnesota. Wait till he comes. He's going to be the guy. And we were like, who's this kid? We spent weeks trying out everybody. Who's this kid? We thought it was bullshit.
It's a band he played with out there too. He came from.
Yeah, I don't remember that though.
Yeah,
but so he was like, listen, you're going to like him. And Vinny's like, I don't remember who he is. So he comes in, and me and Willie are almost like, oh, what the hell are we going to do? Because Vinny would look at me and Willie as guys. You got to tell us if this guy's the right guy. So it was up to me and Willie to really let him know.
Yeah.
And Willie being a drummer, it's, you know, how does he sound with you, Willie? And me being a bass player, it's really important because, like, hey, can he really play? Like, can this guy really play? Like, they'd ask me, can he play?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, he's okay, but we tried out Richie Crackdown. Imagine Richie Crackdown and Stigma as the dual guitarist.
Crazy, man.
That would just be crazy. It sounded like, I loved the way it sounded, but it was like throwback to like 1982. You know what I mean? So Maddie came in, and we went to Staten Island to rehearse, and we took the train out, and he was cool, and we played like 2 songs right out of the gate, and I was like, Vinny just looked at me, and I looked at Vinny, I just nodded my head. I was like, this is the guy. I was like, this guy's great.
Damn.
And he was cool.
Henderson was born.
So Vinny just looked at me like, he looked at me and was like, okay, kid, So it was my job to tell him. I go, hey, do you want to play in the band? He's like, yeah. I go, well, you're in. You can't leave, though. You got to really tour with us, and there's no excuses. And it's this thing is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no, hey, I can't do the gig. No, you're doing every gig we book. That's it. No matter what, this is your 100%. It's like the mafia.
Like
you're
joining
in.
the army.
Yeah, joining the army. You're in. There's no getting out. And he was like into it. And it's been great ever
Yeah,
since.
he said he lived in Staten Island for a while. He's kind of had no car, nothing, no phone. He just worked on music there for a long time.
Yeah, he'd work. I'd go back to Queens and then come into Staten Island. Like I'd come in for like 4 days and I'd go home for a day or two and come back. And Willie was going back and forth. And yeah, that lineup became what it became. And it was, I tell you what, we sounded really good. That was a powerful, strong lineup,
dude.
man. With Willie on drums and Maddie on guitar and myself, you know, it like put a really strong backbone.
That live and then 1981 video is incredible, man.
Yeah,
the lineup
it sounded good.
One voice lineup.
Yeah, the way they march
Sounded
back
good.
and forth and shit, like the way he came,
insane.
paced up and back, and
I'm singing and the big thing of spit comes
You
out.
saw that?
That Roger was like, I had to leave that in.
Roger had the bandana and the shirt,
Yeah.
camo shorts on the rest of the band.
So-
art style.
So 2 questions right there before we move forward. Camo shorts, camouflage. They said they call them the stigmas. Is it true that Vinny Stigmore brought those into the hardcore scene?
I can't. I think he did. Yeah, I know that's his thing. He used to wear camo head to toe, with boots and the pants tucked into the boots.
Yeah.
With a shaved head and shaved eyebrows.
So hard.
Yeah.
And then
And
what?
Frenchie would do that as well.
Yeah.
Two of them
And then rabies too.
Rabies. And one time we were at the Canadian border coming back into America, and there was this military guy there. And he's like, what the hell you boys think you're doing to Vinny and Frenchie? Vinny and Frenchie just looking around like, what do we do? And the guy's like, you boys are a disgrace to the American military. And they're just like looking around like, they're like, I was in Nam. And the guy's like, you weren't in Vietnam? Well, you know, what platoon? He's like, And like, you know, it was, the guy had him on the spot. We were laughing. It was, it was funny.
And so the rumor has it, the urban legends, that you brought sneakers into the hardcore scene.
That's an urban legend. Yeah, you know something? I brought the high top into Agnostic Front. That's true.
High top white Adidas or Nikes, one of
like
those.
white Nikes
White
with
on
the check.
whites.
Yeah, like white on white, white on black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the high top, like 80s high top. I brought that to Agnostic Front. They were a pure boot band before.
Because Youth of Today were rocking the Jordans and shit like that. I remember that.
Yeah, I used to rock always high tops as well.
Yeah. Why
So-
was it? Ankle support or something?
Yeah, but I was in New York before they were in New York. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
though they were playing for a long time. Those guys
Yeah.
date back to before I do. Those guys were probably playing shows in 82 and 83 with like Reflex from Pain and all that.
Yeah.
So Ray and Purcell, they're old school Connecticut guys. No doubt there. They turned me on to a lot of good stuff too. A lot of the Boston stuff that I wasn't really into, they got me into.
Yeah.
So you got to give them their props. But you know, I was a New York guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they moved to New York, they were able to call themselves New York Hardcore because myself and Tommy were in the band. And I don't say that
True.
in a way that's confrontational.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
say it's like that was their like New York connect in the beginning of
Makes
them
sense.
coming to New York. You know,
I always wonder that too, like how you could, coming from another city. But then we did the same thing when you're from there. That's interesting. Because the fucking Youth of Today, they definitely were New York hardcore band, yeah, for
totally.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're Connecticut, but they became a New York band.
Wow. So the sneakers, you rock those. I mean, Youth of Today rock those too.
Yeah,
Were you into hip hop at all too? Because New York and hip hop was so
bit.
connected.
a bit.
Because you weren't just a metal hardcore kid, you liked other shit, right?
No, I was into hip hop. I was into rock music. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was into music.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I don't really draw all these lines. Everybody was
Yeah.
always like, like
Just this.
you're into. I remember like when I was in Youth of Today, like Richie and Purcell would be like, "You're into like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Motorhead," and I was like, "Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good." I go, "It's kind of corny, but it's good music." I was like, "The
Mhm.
music's really good." I go,
There's nothing corny
like,
about Iron Maiden.
"There's nothing corny about Motorhead at all." But what I'm saying is they sing about like nonsense. But I was like, "Yeah, they might sing about nonsense, but it's some of the music's good." The first 2 Iron Maiden albums are like great. They're like punk.
That's Adam's favorite band.
And
That's
then
pretty
what
good.
happened was that's your favorite band.
Oh, by far.
All right. And
Careful.
and then
Careful.
and then I remember years after Youth of Today was done, Richie being like talking to me about Judas Priest because he was like really into Rob Halford's singing and old Judas Priest, like the early stuff. And I was like, wow, you used to hate that. And he's kind of like dancing around, like, what do you mean? I was like, all right, whatever. I go, you know what you got to check out? The first 2 Iron Maiden albums. And he's like, no, I don't like that. And I was like, dude, come on. You like Priest now? Check out the first 2 Maiden albums. It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
But
Dude, when did Red show up?
I I got
Red's his bass, ladies and gentlemen. It's classic bass. It's used on tons of records. And
Yeah,
tours.
it's all chopped up. She's got like a hole dug in her. But I got Red, and I just found a receipt for it. It was in '83.
What'd you
Wow.
pay?
$600, which is pretty
That's
expensive.
a lot for 83.
And she already had a chip taken out of her. She was
We're
dropped.
talking about a bass, ladies
She
and gentlemen.
fell. She fell off the wall. So she fell and had like a chunk taken out of her and like one scratch already when I got her. And the guy's like, yeah, it fell. And I was like, I'll take this one. She was like an orphan, you know what I mean? She was half beat up. So I got Red. It was $600, and it was like, I don't remember when, maybe the fall of '83 I got her.
It's a well-known bass, ladies and gentlemen. They're talking about. It's a Red bass.
It's got its own sound too.
What kind of bass was it?
It's called a Guitar Man, which is a company that there was a small shop on 48th Street in the music area of 48th Street, and there was a guy that made his own guitars and basses. He told me he made 250 approximately guitars in the time he had the shop, and probably 80 basses. So that's the amount of stuff he made over the year and a half or whatever he had his shop, and those are the ones he made himself.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like custom stuff, which is basically it's a P bass with EMGs with
Okay.
a PJ split, but you know.
And that played on many, many records.
Yeah, playing a lot of records, yeah.
So we did a tour with you guys back then, Agnostic Front, Sick of It All tour. That was like one of the first tours I did as really maybe 91 or something, right?
Yeah.
That was a crazy tour.
I remember when you came to New York and you were living in Siv's closet.
Yes, but didn't I stay at Shake House before that? That's what I was going to
think
ask you about.
You did.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so back in like 89, I had an apartment with Armand and John Devil.
Devil, yeah. Debussy.
John Devil, Debussy. So we had a place in Jackson Heights, and we called it Chick House. That was like the nickname of the apartment. So Toby had just come from Maryland.
Yeah.
And this was like 89, maybe?
I came to New York in 88, so maybe
So maybe it might be the end of 88. This is probably the end of 88.
Okay.
So like maybe after the summer of 88.
Yeah.
And so Toby, we were like, oh, this kid's a nice kid. So he wound up like sleeping on our couch,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
He slept on our couch for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, cool. He was cool. And then he eventually moved into Siv's closet, which Siv lived in the same neighborhood as us, maybe
Jackson
like,
Heights.
you know, like a few blocks away. So he like moved into Siv's closet. So he lived
Alan
in
Cage's bedroom, yeah.
Alan Cage's bed. There was a like one of those closets where the two doors, was it a double door?
Uh-huh.
It was like a double door, like hanging closet.
Yeah.
And he put like, you didn't have a mattress. You had like rolled up.
Something in there, futon.
He
or
had some
something,
like, I don't think it was food. I think you had rolled up like like thick blankets, like comforters.
Okay, yeah.
He had a couple comforters, like two comforters on the floor with a pillow and a blanket over him, and he just like closed the closet and go to sleep. I was like, this kid's like really going for
They
it.
used to call me the girly man from Maryland. when I first
Really? I don't
moved
remember
there.
that.
So I don't know if I met you in D.C. before that, before I moved to New York. Because I moved in with Timmy Chunks originally.
You might, but you know, when you came to New York and we met, I don't remember specifically, but somehow you were reintroduced to me as if we had met before.
Okay.
That's how you. My memory isn't like, oh, this new kid. Yeah, this new kid, but like somehow there was a connection there.
It may be DC.
Maybe
Yeah.
some kind of prior. Or maybe you were just because you were friends with Siv. Maybe it was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
he's a friend of Siv's. I don't really know.
Yeah. So how long was your AF stint? Like how many years was that?
That was 87 to 93, so 6 years, a little bit shy of
Yeah.
6 years.
So that was like going from a boy to a man.
Yeah, that's where it was like, hey, we're going on tour, we're going in a van, we're bringing a pit bull. You know what I mean? Like Roger would like put me in positions where he'd like go outside and there'd be bikers in like some like southern place, and he'd be like that, he'd go in and tell him, he'd go, hey, this kid right there, he just kicked your fucking bike. He would say, he would do stuff like that just to see what I would do, and he'd put me in positions where I had to
Yeah.
handle it.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was like always like, what's this guy putting me in these positions? So I was like, what's wrong with you? And he would just laugh. But it taught me to like, okay, you got to learn how to speak to people, kindly,
Yeah, he
but
put you in
also you got to know
situations.
how to be like, yo, just get away from me. You know what I mean? You had to learn
Yeah.
how to kind of stand up for yourself a little bit. So that made me kind of come out of my shell, and I became way more
Thicker skin.
thicker skin, knew how to handle myself. The Queen's training I got early in my life resurfaced.
Yeah.
The little kid stuff, pre-getting high, pre-getting drunk,
Mhm.
when I had like a personality and was more outgoing
Yeah.
to a degree. I mean, I was socially kind of shy always, but
It triggered something, no?
it triggered me not being so shocked from when I did drugs to cover up my traumatic childhood is what I'm thinking.
Got you.
You know what I mean? I went into the shell for a few years through puberty, I guess. You know
So
what I
music
mean?
was your therapy, pretty
Music
much.
was absolutely my therapy, 100%.
I mean, I didn't grow up with people breaking my balls. I mean, my brothers did. When I moved to New York, I feel like there's this underlying going theme of like, find the weakest spot on a person. It's the weakest spot. Poke at it as much as possible.
As much as possible.
And fuck with them until they break down in tears. But the minute somebody fucks with you, we're gonna rat pack them. Like you guys loved each other unconditionally, but you break their balls. But if somebody else broke your balls, they're gonna get fucked up.
We're talking like,
You know what I mean?
We're
Like-
talking. It's totally true, but let's be honest. You and I have battled each other for years. Are we kidding? We used to rip like back when you come on tour.
I
It was
know,
like brutal
dude.
with the seatbelts.
Oh, that's
You kidding me?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
From
So
behind, rip a seat, like
this
get it
guy
from
would grab a
behind.
seatbelt from behind, choke me from behind.
I feel like
out
you
of
brought
nowhere.
That, I feel like you brought that into the blackout van on the Murphy's Law tour.
I probably
I
did.
remember
See, that's the
getting
thing.
dragged in the
So
back and beat up a couple of times.
It's like pay it forward type shit. Like you get fucked with.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
fuck with somebody, then I didn't fuck with these
The
guys.
dangerous thing about him is if you pushed him to a certain point, though, he
Have a county
I
breakdown.
don't
There was
want
some
a
shit
county
involved.
breakdown. He didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He'd rip his shirt off and chase you down.
Shit on myself.
He'd
too.
shit in his hand and throw it at you, smear it on
Yeah.
himself and tackle you. So you had to be careful. If you pushed him to a certain point, he would
Snapped.
but he'd be laughing the whole time. But it was
Yeah.
kind of dangerous. So you'd
Yeah.
be like, yo, fuck with him, but know when to back off because he was like a berserker.
That's what Pete called me on this
Berserker.
podcast.
It got
The berserker.
dangerous. It got dangerous, you know. So I'd be like, yo, we gotta watch out. And Isaac was on that tour.
Yeah.
And that was bad. Remember this time? Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So this whole tour, Isaac's getting into fights every day, and these two guys.
But
are
he's
like,
protecting. He's protecting.
He's
people.
protecting people.
He never starts fights.
No, never starts fights. That's true. But he's
He was
like
a protector.
getting into. So we're in the van, and like we're all like teenagers, so it's like we're restless. You know what I mean?
Wrestling.
Like maybe I'm in my early 20s at that point. But so like they'd be bored, and these two guys would fight each other. So Isaac would like rip off Toby's shirt and throw one of his shoes out the window, and then Toby would be like half crying and half laughing, pissed off. So he'd like. He'd like jump on like me or Armand
Yeah.
halfway, and it would get one of the roadie, one of the other guys who was with like Jerry. You jump on
Yeah.
Jerry. Jerry was on that tour, Jersey Jerry. So he'd jump on them, and usually I'm the guy people go for because I'm like the one that jokes around more.
Yeah,
Like,
totally,
the other
yeah.
guys are more straight men, kind of straight laced, straight faced is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So like it turns into this whole thing. So one night we're in a hotel, and we had connecting rooms at the door. I don't know if you even remember this.
Let's hear it.
But like we're in the middle of this tour. It was like 7 weeks long too. It was long. So it's like 3 a.m. and bang, 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 bang on a connecting door. And Toby's like, Bud, our toilet's broke. It's clogged. I need to go to the bathroom, man. You gotta let me in. I'm like, well, I'm asleep. Leave me alone. What are you doing? No, Bud, the toilet's clogged. We can't even pee in it. I can't pee in the sink. I gotta go to the bathroom. Open the door. Gives me the whole spiel. I'm like, all right. Wait a minute. Soon as I click that lock, bam, the door bursts open and Isaac tackles me. Right? Knock over the nightstand, the lamp. 45 minutes later, I'm fighting for my life with this maniac, right? And Toby's just there laughing. Get him, E. I'm like, and whoever I'm in the room with, like Armand or somebody's just sitting there watching, like, why are you guys doing this? I want to sleep. And 45 minutes later, I got a bloody lip. My clothes are half ripped off. I'm scratched up. I'm sweating.
My God, dude.
And Isaac, he forced me to fight him for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So finally,
he's strong too, man.
Yeah, he's strong. It's like fighting for your life.
It is.
And to get these guys out of the room, like every time they go to
Yeah.
walk out, he turns around, like smacks me, and I have to tackle him, and then we fight some more. You know what I mean? It was just like the craziest, and everyone he's laughing. Hey, he's laughing like the Joker the whole time.
Yeah, he'll laugh.
Dude, I got no sleep that night. My elbows were all bruised up. I was scratched. My neck was hurt. Got on stage the next day. People thought I got beat up. I kind of did.
What are you gonna say, Adam?
I have nothing to contribute to that.
I mean, you remember back then we had
Funny,
no,
though.
We had no phones, so we would like use the office phones and make long distance phone
Yeah,
calls,
yeah,
and then MAD would get a phone call. You ran up a bill in Spain because there's no phones back then, no
You-
cell phones.
It is 100 Deutschmarks. You use the phone. Like I didn't use the phone, Toby.
And then
I got another terrible story about you, but go ahead.
I got one where we came outside and there were there was bootleggers in Manchester and they were bootlegging the Scratch the Surface shirts.
Yeah.
So me, Rusty, Eric Rice, and Craig went out to the back. I had mayonnaise. Somebody had a
Pete,
pipe.
Pete too was involved in that.
Yeah, we came out there and just kind of like.
But leading up to that, they would come to the shows all throughout Europe. They called themselves the Manchester Mafia. It was like some bootleggers in Manchester that I guess like some like organized crime type guys in Manchester would send these kids out. They had a printer.
No joke.
So they'd print shirts and they'd send these kids out. So what would happen is Mark is this big German guy, Mark MAD. So Mark would go up to them, throw them on the ground, and like, speak German. And one of us would come up and be like, hey, this guy's going to kill you. You got to take it easy.
Yeah,
Good cop, bad cop.
You take
style.
the guy's ID out of his wallet. You go, hey,
Yeah.
so and so. you should chill. Hey, this guy's going to kill you. We'd play that role. And the guy would be like, okay. I'd be like, you can go, but don't come back. Tell your friends not to come back. This guy's going to kill you. You play good cop, bad cop. And then when the guy gets 20 feet away, you throw his stuff at him. And he goes, fuck you. I'll see you in Manchester. Remember they kept saying that?
Yeah, man.
So when we were in Manchester, one of them sent a message to us right after we got off stage. Why don't you do something now? You're in Manchester.
Yeah, we all came outside.
So we all came out. You had a jar of mayonnaise.
Yeah, you had a pipe, maybe.
I had this long, skinny pipe.
Somebody got hit. I think you hit Smokey with the pipe, too. Then
Yeah. I hit Smokey with the pipe.
So we come outside. We kick open the doors like, where the
There's like 6 of us, and there's like 30 of them.
Dude.
But we come out, and I think what happened was Eric goes, let me see that shirt. We came out calm, like with the stuff behind our backs. Eric goes, let me see that shirt. And the guy was on stairs
Smokey
at Manchester University. Smokey goes, let me see that shirt. And he looks at it, he goes, And the guy goes, yeah, it's like 10 quid. And Smokey just lays the dude out. And I think Toby was like, oh, shit. And he throws the jar of mayonnaise in somebody's face.
Yep.
Then you like hit a guy from like 4 feet away in the face. And the guy's, boom, jar breaks. The mayonnaise is everywhere.
And it was a pipe swing.
Yeah, so this fight's happening, but I have this 6-foot pipe behind my back, and I'm kind of like stuck. I'm like, what do I do with this pipe? So all of a sudden, the fight breaks out, and I'm like, oh, shit. I look down the steps, and there's a guy running up to me dressed in all black with a black ski mask and a baseball bat.
Oh, shit, that's right.
And I'm like, oh, shit. And I froze for a second, then I thought to myself, go. I'm the one that has to do it. I'm the one with the big artillery. So I pulled this giant 6-foot pipe out. That was pretty thin. You know, it was like as thick as a stickball bat. It was like a long, skinny pipe. I just grabbed it as we were coming out. And the dude's coming up the steps with the bat, like swinging the bat, trying to get close to me. So I'm wailing this pipe with 2 hands over his head, and he's blocking it with the bat. Like I have him at bay, and he's holding the bat over his head, and he's blocking the bat and swinging at my legs, and I'm jumping back and hitting him on the thing, hitting on the pipe. So what happens is, after about 4 or 5 swings back and forth, I hit the guy's hand with the pipe, and he drops the bat, and he yells something out, and the bat goes down, and he like runs down the stairs, like, and he's like holding his hand, like jumping up and down. So by the time I finish fighting with that guy and he runs away, all of these dudes had run out into the street because we came out like a bum rush.
We did.
And shocked them real bad. We like hurt like 5 or 6 of them enough where they all ran back into the street to regroup.
Yeah.
So I'm standing there after this guy runs away, and I look at him run away with the bat, and I have the pipe, and all of a sudden, nobody's around me. I'm by myself. And like a group of dudes that were on the side of the stairs, I guess those guys, Manchester guys, like they scattered into the street, and on the side of the stairs, they all came running up to me as I had the pipe. So they got a semicircle around me, and I was swinging the pipe, trying to keep them off, and they're like trying to get me, and I'm up against the doors of Manchester University at the top of the stairs. So all of a sudden, I'm trying to get these guys. I'm batting them off. I'm hitting them a little bit. A dude breaks through the semicircle and runs at me. So I'm like, try to wail him with the pipe as hard as I can to keep him off me. And as he goes to tackle me, I hit him in the bicep with it, like a check swing in the bicep. So, and he goes, ugh, and he grabs me, and it's Smokey. I didn't realize it was Smokey. And he goes, get inside, you're surrounded. So I drop the pipe. We break through the 2 or 3 guys that are like to the side of us, and we run full speed to jump through the doors.
That's right.
So Toby goes through the door. Eric goes through the doors. Smokey goes through the doors. And whoever was there puts, like, you know how when you shut like school doors, they have the big 2x4 that goes in the
top
slots?
latches it. Yeah.
It latches. They had one at like the guy puts it at shin level as I'm running full speed. So I run so nobody else can get in. They just, even though the door was open to get us in, they braced it right after Smokey went through. I saw it go down, but I didn't realize what was happening. I was in such like a panic. And I run full speed, hit my shin on this 2x4, go flying in the air, land on the ground. My shin's like bleeding and exploded. I look up, and Dick Dale is standing over me because he played the big room upstairs. Dick Dale standing over me, and he looks at me, and he puts his hand out, and he goes, I'll play with you anytime. You're a fine bunch of young men. And he picks me up, and he like pats me on the back. He saw the whole fight, so he was like, he was like,
that's amazing.
He saw the whole, so he was like, like you boys are,
you boys are bad.
And that was it. And then we were all, and then we went we went in the backstage, and the dude with the mask was trying to break the window of the bus with the beer keg. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the kegs. Yeah, they wrote Manchester Mafia.
That was that little dude. They wrote Manchester Mafia on the bus, and the dude was trying to throw the keg through the window, but he was so short that he couldn't throw it up. So we all ran outside the back door with like pipes and stuff like that and chased them, and they ran away. And then Yeti, TS, TS lives out here now. TS had like this rubber PVC pipe. So this couple was there, and he wound up beating the guy in front of his girlfriend with the PVC pipe because he thought it was one of those guys.
No
He like
way.
hit the guy in the arm, the side. The guy fell down. The girl's like, no, no. So then he backed off, and he was like, oh shit. And we're like, run to the bus. So we all left.
shit.
He wound up beating the guy. The guy wasn't hurt. He's probably bruised up though. And that was the story.
And I think the next day we heard they were coming, so we had like barbed wire, and we built like a
stupid.
we built like a runway from the bus to the venue, and Mark M.D. set up like a fort. So if they came, we had sticks, and like we had it ready for the
If
next
you only
day.
played a couple hours away, 2 hours away or something, but nobody came.
It was like chicken wire and shit, so you didn't get into the venue and shit.
Yeah,
Like
it was really stupid.
So for the first, like, probably the first 10 years of our career, every single interview we did, someone would ask about Toby being a sick of it all roadie.
Yeah.
Now I am going to ask about Toby being a sick of it all roadie. How was Toby Morse as a road crew member?
If you want to be technical, as far as being a roadie to do the
Yeah,
job
let's
of a
start with
roadie,
that.
okay, let's start with that. He was the worst roadie that I've ever seen in my entire life
thanks,
playing
bud.
music. This guy would lose every day. He'd lose something
Sure, I
different.
did.
Didn't even know. He didn't even have like a count of what was what. He would lose cymbals, kick
Yeah,
drums.
that's true.
This guy lost everything every single day.
But I was fun to hang out
Oh,
with.
he was real fun to hang
That's
out with.
important onto it.
We had
You
a
need
blast.
that.
We
You
had
need that.
we had a blast. He was fun to hang out with. We would joke around. The whole powder thing in the back of the van
Oh,
was
yeah.
just classic. I'd be like, no, don't use that much powder. You're gonna get a rash. I got this rash, bud.
And I put baby
I'd be
powder
like,
over the
no, you
bus.
gotta stop. And he'd throw like more baby powder. I'd be like, you got a rash because you're using too much of it. It was just great. It was just great.
And then shitting everywhere.
Oh, he used to do crazy things when he
Shooting
was
ropes.
young.
yeah.
I
He
don't-
talked about it. Crazy stories.
He'd do crazy shit to make us all laugh, and we'd laugh.
I think that's more important.
That's
on
when you're a kid,
on
though, you know what I
tour.
mean?
Like, you need like the fun dudes.
He was like the comic relief.
I was like
Yeah.
the jester.
He was the jester, but it was fun though. It was like
Yeah.
it was all like loving, lighthearted.
Yeah.
It was nothing like nothing. We weren't like treating him like dirt or anything.
No,
he was
no,
our
no.
friend. I mean, we
Yeah.
would be hard with each other, but it was like hard with the joking.
That
But
New
it was
York
all
ball
fun.
breaking shit. You
Yeah,
know,
it
like
was
the same-
fun. We had fun. We had a blast.
That-
I remember Armand would be like, "You've left the snare drum. How are we supposed to play that?" But I'm sorry.
I could definitely get Lou out of the crowd. I could definitely undo the chords if it got tangled.
Yeah, he could do like the
I could sometimes I braid Lou's rat tail for him.
he could do like when there was a problem, like the cord got
Yeah.
mangled. Lou was like twisting his leg,
You
and
put out the fire,
he put
Yeah.
out the. He was good at putting out the.
I love
fire.
stage diving during their set.
But I'll tell you,
walking on heads.
I'll tell you what happened though. This is one thing he did that was bad. So we played the Limelight, right? Back in '95, we played like the Limelight, and it was
right
great.
before H2O, yes, yeah.
Sold out show.
Yeah.
I think H2O. That was one of your first shows, right?
I don't know if we
You guys
played
op-
that one. Was Rancid? No.
No, that was us headlining
No, this
with
before H2O.
Snapcase.
Before
We did one
H2O.
with Snapcase.
Yeah.
Okay, you were roadieing that one.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, for sure.
So we played, right? Sold out the Limelight in New York. You know what I mean? Sold out to the rafters. We came out and killed it. It was like one of those high
great
energy
show.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of the show, I'm with my mother was at the show. My mother's like, "My goodness, you've gotten so good. You're so energetic, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, Mom. Come on." I'm sweating, hyperventilating. I go to take my mom backstage. She doesn't have a pass.
Oh shit.
So the bouncer's like, "You can't bring her upstage." I go, "I just sold out your club. You saw me up there." I go, "It's my mother. My mother has to come backstage. I don't know what happened to her pass." I go, "Mom, what happened to your pass?" She goes, "I didn't get one." I'm like, "What?" Turns out that my friend right here, Toby, took all the passes and passed them out to like everybody. You know, all like the
fellas.
all
Yeah.
the fellas. He passed it out to all the fellas. So my mom didn't get one. So
I'm so sorry.
so
Setari.
I was young. I was young, and my mom likes you too.
yeah,
you know
your
what I
mom's
mean?
awesome. I'm sorry about that.
That's what you say.
I'm
about
sorry.
my
I
mom.
love you.
That's what you say about
Oh,
my moms. We'll be starting that shit again. We're older men. We don't do that anymore, all right, buddy?
Your mom was
Yeah, watch it.
awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm like, I have my pass, and I say to the guy, I go, "What are you kidding me?" I'm cursing at the guy. I go, "Calm down." He goes, "Go up to the office and talk to him." So I go up to the office, and instead of thinking to myself, instead of calming down and saying, "Hey, we had an issue with the passes, my mother's passes,"
Yeah, he snaps.
I knocked on the door. The Limelight was a mob-run club. So I'm pounding on the door. The door's locked. "Get the fuck out here." So some guy comes out, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I go, "My mother didn't get a pass. I sold out your fucking club. My mother can't come back here. You know, she can't stay out there. She can't breathe well, blah, blah, blah," this whole thing, right? So the guy's like, what? And he looks, there's a guy sitting there counting stacks of money in a suit. So he looks back at the guy, and the guy nods his head. So the guy stands up, pulls out a pistol, and starts walking toward the door. And I see that, and I'm looking at the guy with the gun walking up to the door, and the guy that's at the door, like the club guy, jumps on me. So it's
What?
We're at a fight. So we're in the hallway.
You by yourself?
I was by myself. So we're in the hallway, and the guy like jumps out and grabs me by my shirt and like it's in a hallway. Like, so the guy
Yeah.
shoves me against the wall of the hallway, right? And we struggle for a second, and I kind of push him off me, and he's at the end of the hall standing there, and he's like all mad, like ready to. So he charges at me, and I was in a southpaw position, right? Which means a left hand lead, right foot back. So the guy goes to charge at me, and I snap a southpaw jab, and I catch him like in the forehead between the eyes, not super hard, but just quick. Bap! I catch him with a jab, and the guy goes boom, and his head hits the wall, and his eyes open real wide, and he looks at me like shocked, and he it wasn't a hard shot, but he didn't,
Stunned him.
Like a
Bang!
little wake up call.
It was like
Yeah.
as soon as that shit popped off, he was about to make his move, and I was like, pop! I caught him and caught him with a shot, and he was like, wake up call, so he dove through the door. So he dove through the door and was shutting the door on me as I'm trying to push the door open to fight the guy because I'm stupidly excited. I didn't keep my wits.
Yeah.
And the guy with the gun is behind him shutting the door with the gun hand. You could see the gun. He's shutting the door. So I'm going, motherfucker, I'm screaming, going crazy, trying to open the door. And as I'm trying to open the door, I'm hitting the door and hitting the guy in the head, trying to get him. And I wind up hitting the door in that rage and breaking my entire hand. You see how it's...
You broke your head at the Limelight show?
Yeah, in 3 places.
Oh, because they gave the passes away?
Yeah.
Fuck, Craig, I even knew that story.
Shattered that whole bone. You could see it's like completely down. You remember that story because then we did 3 days later. We went to Europe, and
That's
that was
right.
the European. Remember, I had the cast.
Yeah, I do.
So
Played in a cast.
dude.
3 days later, we went on a European tour, and I played the entire tour with my hand. The doctor goes, "We got to put a cast because my hand, my fourth metacarpal was like shattered." He
Jesus
goes, we got to
Christ.
give you an L cast like all the way up to your bicep. I go, "No, you're gonna give me one of those little slip-on casts with a wrap." And the guy's like, "It won't heal right." I go, "It's the only choice." I go, "It's that or nothing." So the guy did it, and he goes, "Look, you can't hit it, you can't move it." I go, "I'm gonna play bass for like 37 shows. What are you talking about?" The guy's like, "That's crazy. It's not gonna heal right." I go, "It will." So what I would do is I would just turn the amp up real loud, and I put crazy glue on one finger and put the pick on there so it wouldn't fall out, so I could play really soft. And I just had to like really just nub it.
So did you go to the hospital that day? Like ambulance come? You just walked out like holding your hand? That was
I walked out holding my hand, and the next morning I woke up and it was looked like a softball. So I went to like a first med spot, and they were like, "Oh, your
Holy
hand."
shit.
They gave me an X-ray. They're like, "Oh, your
Your
hand's
mom
shattered."
must have been very worried.
Yeah, they're like, "Your hand is shattered."
Did your mom even know what happened and why that happened, the whole story?
No, what happened was then I went to the backstage, and I came in the backstage. I go, "Oh, my hand." And Pete's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "My hand's broken." I showed it because holy shit. So then I go, "The bouncers are coming to get me," because the bouncers were all called to come and get me. So Pete's father, who's a big guy,
He's a big dude.
stood up and was like, when they tried to come in the door, he's like, nope, nobody in here. He goes, "Nobody's doing anything." And everybody in my band and Pete's father and his brothers were all ready to fight these bouncers, but they were smart enough to be like, hey, let's talk, let's work it
Pete's
out.
brother's no joke too.
Yeah. So then I just said my case. I go, "My mother's downstairs. She has no pass." I go, "I sold out your club." I yelled at the guy in the room, and we had a scuffle. I go, "I shouldn't have done that. I should have been calm. But my mother is downstairs, and she has a medical condition, and she can't stand down there for that long."
Yeah.
And the guy's like, okay. They're like, "We'll get your mother a pass. Let's just forget the whole thing." I was like, okay.
Damn.
I was like, okay, cool. And the guy came over. He shook my left hand because my right hand was shattered. And that was that.
Holy fuck, I didn't even knew this shit like because of the passes
That
and
was
shit.
your fault.
So then you went to Europe right after with H2O Sycophil, I
And
think.
I played the whole tour with a broken hand. And that was when
Fuck,
that fight
man.
happened the first day. Remember that fight?
Okay, put money in the meter? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Remember that fight happened the first day?
What was the first day?
Remember we played with another friend of ours band, and then
Oh,
your
yeah.
drummer had
Yeah.
that
I
situation.
talked about it with Henderson on the podcast. Yeah, it was a one-on-one thing. That was really weird.
that was
That was uncomfortable, but it had to happen. It was a one-on-one thing.
it
you know?
sucked.
Yeah.
Maddie wanted it for whatever
Yeah.
for his own reasons.
Yeah.
So you got to let it
It
happen.
was a personal thing that had nothing to do with my
I
band.
remember Max was like coming to me, and I have a broken hand, and I'm sitting there with Arthur trying to figure out how to actually play a full show. I'm like, Arthur, how am I going to do this? And he's like, "Try holding the pick like that." He's like,
Yeah.
me and Arthur were working out how I was going to play.
Yeah.
And Max comes up to me all scared, like, "What do I do? What do I do?" I go, "You go over there and you say, 'Let's do this now,' and don't get within arm's reach when you say it."
So what he's talking about, people, is Matt Henderson had a beef with my original drummer, and what happened was the word on the street was when they saw each other at a European fest, we're going to fight a fair one behind the buses or the vans after the show. So it is what it is. It had to happen. It was before, had nothing to do with my band, had nothing to do with any of the bands. It was something with a girl.
It was personal between them.
Yeah,
the
so when
two
they
of them.
saw each other, we had to go, and there was this one-on-one fight in the dirt in the field, like by a festival. It was totally, and all of us are standing in a circle around it, and it was just a one-on-one thing.
And
Had
I'm
to be
standing
done.
there with a broken hand trying to play the bass, watching. Like, oh, let's see what happens
It
here.
was that.
Why are we talking about fighting? This
Yeah,
is
that
so
was
dumb.
so silly.
This is really stupid.
Enough fights. So sick of it all, man. That this has been an incredible run for you because you've been in the band since what year was that now?
93, the beginning of 93.
Crazy. And here we are.
Why did we talk about fighting? That's
It just came.
terrible.
It just came out. You mentioned it. You mentioned the thing came out.
Why?
I don't know. It's part of the story.
It was like it's like 40 minutes of bullshit.
Yeah. So listen. So 2019. Yeah, man. So now here you are now, and you're still playing Sick of All, which has been an incredible journey, man. It's insane.
Yeah, I never thought it would last this. Like, I never really thought about it. I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's all over the place, and you're constantly touring and everything, and it seems to not go away, which is great.
Yeah.
It's like we have this like blessed situation where we can continue to play as we're older men, and people still appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's almost like we did something and didn't realize the impact it would have.
You did. You've been involved in a lot of bands that impact on my life. You've been in a lot of music, early
you.
music, and all that stuff. The thing about it is, when did you realize like this is my career and I'm doing this full time?
It's hard to say. It just became this thing that I did. I'm guessing that when I joined Sick of It All, I knew it was going to really stay.
Yeah.
It was always my thing, but I was looking like, well, what am I going to do when I'm old?
But you always worried about a plan B?
I didn't worry about a plan B, but I had it in the back of my head.
Yeah.
So at one point, I wanted to do something else, try to like become a chef, but I didn't.
You've always been a good cook, yeah.
I like to cook, but that didn't go anywhere. That was like,
Culinary school.
yeah, it never happened. It never
Okay.
happened. I joined Sick of It All instead.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like quitting? Ever playing music?
Well, when I first joined Sick of It All, when I did that first tour with them, right after the last AF tour before they broke up,
Yeah.
at that point in '93, I told Sick of It All, I said, listen, I'll do this tour with you guys, but I think I'm going to go to school to become a chef, and we'll see what happens. I probably won't stay in the band. But that didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
As soon
Obviously.
as I did that tour, you remember that tour?
Yeah, man.
I was like, nah, I'm doing this. Forget about that other stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about that. You know what I mean?
It's crazy because you do it because you love it. There's no retirement plan. There's no 401k. There's none of that. There's a lot of sacrifice involved. It's not as easy and as fun and glamorous as people think.
Not at all.
There's so much sacrifice. You miss people's weddings, their funerals, people's everything.
You're living in a car 6 months out of the year for your entire life.
Yeah.
People don't understand that.
They
at
don't.
all. And you're like eating garbage in the early days. You're in
Yeah.
a van. You're living in a car. You're not eating. You're not showering a lot. You know, and you're struggling really, really hard just to get up for an hour every night and play. Back then, it was like 40 minutes.
40
And
minutes.
That's all you're doing. You're putting everything is that.
You have those 23 hours of like trying to sleep, eat, get to the show on time, all that.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
People think like, oh man, you're in a band. It must be awesome. I'm like, it's work. It's a lot. People have said to me, well, you work an hour a night. What are you talking about? I'm like, I work. I'm living in a car.
Yeah.
I'm basically living in a van. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not really.
Is it hard to explain to like adult people in the real world like what your band's called and what you guys kind of music you play?
They don't really get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I tell them like I play in a band. And
Yeah.
Like, oh, that must be cool. But then if they like understand what it is, they're like, they think it's like associated with something weird maybe.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand. And I always try to tell them, this is what I say to just regular people that have no idea. I go, I play in like a hardcore punk band. I go, but it's not kill your mother, rape your father.
Yeah, yeah.
It's songs that are positive. They're about
It's not
like,
fuck your parents and all that
yeah,
shit.
it's about trying to strive to it's, you know, sing songs about social injustice and
Yeah.
striving to better yourself.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's cool. And then they hear it. They go, it sounds negative. I'm like, well,
Don't you feel like that's the difference between punk and hardcore? I feel like punk was like anarchy in
Destructive.
UK, fuck your parents, fuck the government. I actually love my mom. And then
yeah,
and
me
then,
too.
and then hardcore.
Yeah, I love your moms too.
Yeah,
She's great.
and then hardcore was like, let's fix the world. Let's make it a better place. Let's talk about veganism and Krishna and straight edge and changing the world and the government. And, you know, like it was all like fix things.
Talking about
yeah, not-
problems as opposed to, you're complaining about it. You know, yeah, exactly.
what I mean?
Talking
Like-
about solutions instead of complaining about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about how punk
Yes.
rock was like fuck everything, and hardcore's kind of was like let's kind of fix everything
Yeah, it's
too
like
in a
the,
sense.
punk rock's destroy, hardcore's build.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I loved about it.
I think about this like I think about like the stuff I've done with all this, and it's when I look at it from a third party perspective as a grown man, it's a really good thing.
Yeah,
We're like singing songs. Like to me, it's just every day. It's what I do. I write the song, then we record it. It doesn't strike me the way it does somebody who buys the record and is a fan.
100%.
It strikes me as like the whole process. I see it. It just feels like whatever. It's like my life or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But to a guy that I don't know that comes to the shows. He buys the record, he reads the lyrics, and listens to the song, and maybe he gets off drugs from that, or it helps him with a
100%.
problem. You know how many people have come up to you and said, "Oh, you
Yeah.
helped me with this." That's a good thing.
Dude, this stuff we do is
Serious.
we make the world a little bit better. I
A
think.
little bit, yeah.
I mean, not to be gassy, but it's
no,
true.
we're trying.
No,
We're
it's true,
trying.
Adam.
We're doing our best. You
It's
know?
it's a good thing that we do, and we enjoy doing it. So
Yes.
it's like it's not like we're not like a corporation that's like raping the rainforest. We're like
No.
we're doing something good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're
I think
taking a
it's-
gift that was given to us by the artists and the people that inspired us, and we're paying it forward, hopefully,
Exactly.
to the new generation.
Exactly. It's like it's a little closer to freedom than the average person has.
Yes.
The freedom to do your own thing.
We have
under
no
your own
bosses.
rules.
We're our own boss.
No bosses. We're not like putting that workforce competitive, treat people like crap thing. We're able to like really kind
Stuck
of.
in a rut. All
we
that
got we
shit.
got one foot in freedom, which is really
Yeah.
nice.
And if we create things that people actually
Yes. And we sing
like.
songs about topics that touch people.
Yeah.
Because when I write lyrics, I'm writing stuff that means something to me, and then other people associate with that, and it's a good thing. You know the deal.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
I feel like that's the key to longevity too. Is you continue to inspire people in different generations of people, and people
That's
still
right.
come to your shows and care about you,
Absolutely.
and they grew up with you. And we're lucky to have that because none of us had hits on the radio or sold a lot of records.
because right now there's a Craig ahead growing up in a town with an abusive alcoholic father. You know what I
It's
mean?
true,
Maybe.
man.
Maybe.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. Like a you somewhere else listening
Yeah,
to
yeah,
your
yeah.
records, the way you listen to those records,
Or
and
doing
ma-
something
might-
completely different in a completely different
sphere.
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 I hate that. It's a weird word.
It's a hard one to
in a
say.
completely different like sphere, and he's gonna make an impact to the people that he aligns with,
Yeah.
that are on the same wavelength as him. It's a good thing. We're all very blessed.
Yeah. What do you think the key was for Sick of It All's longevity? It's like 35 years right now.
Determination.
Termination.
Here's the deal.
Commitment.
Yeah, we will get in the van and go. We will play. We will do this. We will just do it. It's like the guy that'll keep doing push-ups forever and he wins the bodybuilding contest. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't stop.
As a Pete
Keep
said.
going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You don't turn it down. Like, it's really easy to be like, oh, I don't want to do that. I have to do this. I'm going to stay home this weekend instead of, because I need to take care of this. That's how everybody's wired. And that's how even I'm wired.
Yeah.
But I have this thing in me that looks like it's a show. It's what you do. Go play it. Go, go, go. And that's the difference. That's what makes you stick around and get to the, I don't want to say top of the food chain because that sounds arrogant, but you get to be a staple in
Persistence too. Commitment.
yeah,
all that.
we got to be staples
Mhm.
in our music because we went the extra mile and we never
Yeah.
turned stuff down. That's not to say I won't turn down a terrible show offer.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when you're committed and you go.
Yeah. We had
Don't
to
get
turn down a really
lazy.
good offer today just to continue to play the other shows we had booked. But we're gonna say about Sick of It All. I was gonna say something else too about. Oh yeah. And I'm not even blowing smoke and being honest. I mean, Adam talk about it all the time. You guys could be playing in front of 100 people, 300 people, 20,000 people. You always give it 110%.
Try our best.
Never
I've
seen a
never
bad
seen you
show.
guys play a bad show. I've never seen you go through the motions and be like, even if the crowd was whack, you still continue to give it
Yeah,
all. I
but
love that.
you guys do the same thing because we work, we help each other.
Yeah,
There's we're like
but sometimes it's hard. Like
there's
when
a
you're,
symbiotic relationship between the bands from our genre.
but sometimes the connection's
push each
not
other.
there. Sometimes it's hard to lose
Yeah.
that energy. But you guys always bring it, man. Like, it's,
Well, from your perspective, watching you think that, but sometimes I'm up there dying, like, oh man,
Yeah,
this
yeah, I'm
crowd's dead.
but yeah, but we, I don't feel that, and the crowd doesn't feel that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
That's why being a bass player is a little bit easier on the short shows because
It's a little harder on the joints though.
it hurts.
Bass player hurts.
This is why some people use 2 straps instead of 1.
yeah, talk about it. You created the double strap, right? That was a good segue.
The back buddy. No, I invented that in the '90s, and because I have a blown disc in my lower back, so I started getting numbness on my whole left side, and it was from the weight of the bass. I started getting numbness in my ear, and my face, and my hands, and my feet.
Yeah,
And I was like, man, this, it happens after I play a show. It felt really weird. My eye would get lazy and stuff. So I took 2 straps. I configured them. I did a whole bunch of like measurements and got these straps, and I kind of built them up, and I put them together in a certain way, and I connected it, and I did a whole bunch of prototypes till I found the one that works. So now I make them myself by hand. I sew them up with dental floss, heavy duty dental floss, and I make them myself. And I caught him. I caught some of them. I caught him a certain way.
That's amazing.
And I make it, and it solved my back issue. You can't move as freely. You're a little stiffer up top. You can't get that upper body movement the same, because it's more held in a spot. But I invented that in the 90s, and then some guy, and I think I remember who he was. I think he was at a show in New York. He was like some engineer guy. He was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Let me look at that." And he's like talking to his friend, like, "See how it's set up back here?" And then this guy patented it.
Wow.
And
no
he actually,
way.
And he actually was dealing with Diodario, who I was an endorsee of. But I didn't make a big deal out of it because he patented it and I didn't. So what are you gonna do?
Wow.
But I felt like, I'm a hardcore guy and I got robbed. Like, I didn't do it myself.
Yeah.
It would have cost me like a fair amount of money to patent it. And I thought, well, who's going to really want this besides deep bass players that tour a lot? So it's not like a big money thing. But the guy patented it, and he holds the patent, not me. But it never went anywhere.
Yeah.
I saw it being sold by Diodario for a while. I don't even think they carry it anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody ever using it live.
I've seen approximately one bass player using the two straps.
Thank you, sir.
And
You're
that's
welcome.
you.
Mine's a little different than his. I won't say how, but yeah, so I could conceivably make them and sell them at this point.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. It's all that work for what?
Yeah.
Who's gonna buy it? Maybe you'll buy one. But actually, but here's the deal: I'd give you one because you're my friend.
Yeah.
So who would want one? Would Randy want one? Yeah, Randy's not paying for one. I'm giving him one.
Probably will take one if you give them away.
I'm not going to charge you for it. You're my friend. If I had to buy the parts, I'd be like, the parts are like however many bucks.
There is
parts.
one topic that, unless when I was putting money in the meter, I missed it. Boxing.
Yeah, okay.
Like when did you get into the sweet science?
Probably when I was like around 17. So my childhood best friend in my neighborhood, Sean Graham, his uncle was Billy Graham, Irish Billy Graham, the welterweight, who was a welterweight.
Oh, wow.
He's known as the uncrowned champ. He was a welterweight in the 50s, beat Sugar Ray Robinson in the amateurs.
Wow.
Damn.
Beat Carmen Basilio as a pro before Carmen Basilio beat Sugar Ray Robinson for the middleweight title. At welterweight, he beat him. And then he fought all of the best welterweights in the 50s. He fought Kid Gavilan 5 times, once for the title, and beat him, but he lost the decision, and that's why they call him the uncrowned champ, because Kid Gavilan was with the Mafia, with Blinky Palermo and those guys.
Oh,
and he
shit.
wasn't. He was Irish, so he would always say F you to the mob, and they didn't control him, so he didn't win the title. He had 126 fights, was never knocked down, and had, I believe it was 112 wins or something like that.
Damn.
He was like the best. He was the best welterweight, technically the best skilled boxer of that era at a welterweight. He beat all the top guys.
Irish Billy Graham.
Look him up. Master boxer. And his brother was Jack Graham, who was my friend Sean Graham's father. So Jack Graham was the deputy commissioner of the New York State Athletic Commission. So I would smoke pot in Sean's basement. We'd drink beer and be stupid. And Sean sometimes he'd be like, "No, I'm not hanging out tomorrow night. I got to do something." And I'd be like, "What are you doing? Why don't you want to get high?" And he'd be like, "No, I got to do something." And he'd be quiet. So one day I was like, "What do you do?" He goes, "Well, I go with my father to work." I'm like, "What is it?" He goes, "Boxing." I go, "Yeah." I go, "I'll go with you next Thursday," because we'd go to the Felt Forum every other Thursday. He would go. So I went with him, and I had just started taking martial arts. JKD, Jeet Kune Do. Mm-hmm. So I'd been doing that for a few months, and I was learning like rudimentary boxing and some kicks and some rudimentary stuff. That was like Bruce Lee's thing. So I learned some rudimentary martial arts, and the instructor there would always be like, he'd be like, "You're really good with your hands. You punch well, and you have a good sense of how to use your hands and how to move." He goes, "You practice that at home a lot?" I go, "Not really, just when I'm here." He goes, "Well, that seems to be the thing you're taking to here, more than the kicking and everything else." So then I went to the fights with Sean and his father Jack at the Felt Forum front row.
Yeah.
And I watched the fights, and I was like, I want to do this. Even because I was never a tough kid. I was like a shy, quiet kid.
Yeah,
I was never an alpha male. I was like ultra quiet. If anything, I was the guy that got picked on. You know what I mean? Because I was like real nice and real quiet.
Yeah.
And so Jack Graham, rest his soul, got me a trainer in Queens, like a good boxing trainer and all that. And I just got into, and I thought to myself, why pay this martial arts guy money when I can go to the PAL in my neighborhood for $3 a year?
Damn.
So I went there and I started boxing, and then I had some trainers, and I just developed. I worked on it like the way I played bass when I first started playing bass. That's how I treated boxing. Gotcha. It was my own private thing. I didn't have time to really compete because I was on tour all the time.
Yeah.
But when I wasn't on tour, even when I was on tour, I would shadow box all day before the show. All day.
Yeah, I've seen you doing that backstage.
I would do that, constantly working on stuff. I'd go to a gym in Germany and hit the bags and work on stuff. I'd work with some pros. They'd show me some stuff. You know what I mean? I was constantly in the gym. When I was home, I was training, running, always training, sparring, running, learning. So then eventually, like later on, I trained in Rhode Island for a little while. I was living there for a while. I actually worked the corner at Vinny Pazienza's gym for his fight with Floyd Hunnigan in the gym.
That's awesome.
And I worked the sparring partner's corner. And I sparred with a couple Golden Glove champs over there. And then I came back, and there was a guy in my neighborhood named Eddie O'Boyle who was a pro. He fought under Don Turner, was his coach, who trained Holyfield later in his career. And he took me under his wing and took me to the next level and got me to be where I was respected in the gyms of New York in boxing.
That's awesome.
I would spar with all these kids getting ready for the gloves, hold my own very well. I was able to box with high-level amateurs and pros, and I was competitive with them. So he's the guy that showed me that, yeah, you have skill and an understanding and you have scientific knowledge of the sport, but you have to know how to apply it when the going gets rough. So he's the guy that taught me. He's the guy that showed me that I'm a tough guy. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know it, but I always was. My kindness is my toughness. My decency is my toughness.
Yeah.
That determination that I made me get in the van every day is the same determination I show in the ring.
Yeah. That's
Plus,
awesome.
I was gifted with a concrete chin, so we're good. And that's a sport that I love. So anyone that thinks that's about violence, they're wrong. That's a sport about discipline and determination.
Yeah.
You know what sucks about this episode we're doing now? People are gonna think I'm like this, like different than I am. Like
You're not. Your being is awesome.
I'm not a tough guy at all.
I have a
I'm
question
a
too.
nice guy.
Like now, like
But
you're
it's talking about all this like
this is stuff you're into. Yeah. Now you're
That's
reaching.
what I'm into. Yeah.
You're reaching 50 soon. Do you feel different pains getting off stage after
hell
playing
yeah.
shows?
I've had multiple knee surgeries. I've
Yeah.
had blown discs in my back, tore my ankle out.
All from hardcore.
All from hardcore. Problems with my hands, pinched, swollen discs in my neck. I've had multiple knee surgeries.
How's the hearing?
Hearing's pretty
That's a
bad.
good question.
Back in 1996, I got my hearing checked, and 40% of my high end was gone.
I have the same. Do you earplugs or no?
Now I do, yeah. But I don't
Can't
use.
do
I
it,
don't.
man.
Here's the trick. You got to use the. I have ones for you. They're not. Don't use the foam ones. Those take out too much. I have these rubber ones that they give to airport employees.
Oh.
You put them in, and you don't put them in for the first segue. The first 2 or 3 songs, you leave them out, so you get your adrenaline pumping, and then you put them in, and it calms it down and makes it sound clearer. And you're like, oh, it sounds clearer. I can hear. And then you're still excited, so you play the show with excitement. And if you want, you can take it out the last song just to like, what does it sound like again?
Interesting.
that
You,
helps.
you have tendonitis too, Adam?
Yeah, I have. I don't know watch frequencies I've lost, but I've
High
lost
frequencies.
a ton of them.
That's what we lose from the cymbals and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
You lose the
cymbals for
highs
sure.
first.
Yeah,
40% in 96. It's got to be bad.
it's got to be
by
bad
now.
Yeah.
I like when there's background noise. I don't hear very well. I don't think tendonitis doesn't bother me, but if I think about it, my head's going bzzz right now. When you
That
close
happens
your
to you?
I don't.
happens to
have
you too. You
that.
just probably don't notice it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you just live with it. I mean, I know we've been standing on stages for close to 25 years.
Yeah.
Volume up to 11.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I
oh
mean?
yeah.
No earplugs. Like, you don't get
It's
out of
weird.
that
Yeah, I
without
can't-
some
I can't-
damage.
Yeah, I can't. People with the in-ear monitors never could do that, man.
No, it's
You
not.
tried
It's
that
not, it's not
before,
our
right?
thing.
Yeah.
I can't even do earplugs because to me the volume is part of the energy
It
of the
is,
show.
man.
You know
Yes.
what I
It
mean?
is.
You want to feel it.
Yeah, I want to feel it.
Like in-ear monitors, I could play like that, playing some other type of music if I was playing other type of music. For hardcore punk, no,
Yeah.
you can't. You need the power.
It's like even in
Yeah.
the studio with the headphones on, I feel like
weird.
neutered.
You
know what I
almost don't
mean?
know what it's going to sound like till you
Yeah.
hear it complete. Then you're
Yeah.
like, oh wow, it came out good. It sounded so tame when we were recording it.
I like
'Cause
the
yeah.
chaos, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sonic madness of it all. Like
Yeah, yeah,
that's fun to me.
Some of that slop can be.
Some of that slop is nice.
Some of that slop is really what you're feeling. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I want to say that. I want to say the Sick of It All kind of like changed the game for hardcore because you guys were the first ones to go on tour, like Napalm Death, Sacred Reich, Sepultura.
Mix it up, man.
No bands were doing it back then. Everybody stayed in their own genre, and you guys did that. I think that changed the game for you guys.
Yeah, you
And
know, the
to a different
crossover
audience.
thing,
You know what I mean?
Different level of professionalism too.
Yeah.
that was like the second wave of that crossover thing. The crossover thing started in like 85, I guess. And then like 89, it like kind of resurfaced again. But those guys toured a lot with bands like that. And listen, it's always good to mix up bills.
100%. Preachers
It's good to mix up
yeah.
bills. You want to like play with
We do
bands
that
that
too.
play stuff that's a little different. You know what I mean? You go on tour with your Dropkick Murphys. You go on tour with your metal brand, your hate breed, your
Rancid. You guys mix
Rancid.
it up. Yeah.
You want a little bit of
We
everything.
did
in
Misfits
there.
together.
That was
Yes,
a great
that's right.
tour,
That
man.
was a fun tour.
Great tour.
That was really fun.
My wife
was
got,
that long? Your wife got what?
my wife got locked up at one of their shows in 1996.
Really?
So it was a big fight at the show.
That was fun. It started in L.A. Wasn't the first show in
I
L.A.?
feel-
Yeah.
I feel like we went.
Halloween.
That was a long tour.
It was a
Halloween.
long tour.
Halloween.
I think it was.
Misfits did Star Trek. We did Baseball Furies. And I can't
Yeah, I remember that show. And this not to like to bring the thing down, but I remember we played that show and the doors are wrong, so we played like really early. There's nobody there, and we were dressed up like. Remember that we were dressed up like
remember.
them. It was like rough.
Was that over
man.
here in L.A.?
Palladium.
Now
Yeah,
that
it
was
was,
the Palladium.
it was
that's
rough
it.
for us.
I remember on that tour we played Milwaukee,
Metal.
and Bob Dylan was playing upstairs. And
Oh, remember that?
fuck Bob Dylan.
Yeah, I
Right,
remember. Go
because
ahead,
he
go ahead.
wouldn't. He could hear the opening band for the show. There's a band number 4 in his dressing room, and said he wasn't going to do his show if our show was going on at the same time. There were two venues.
Then
That's
didn't he
right.
offer to pay us our guarantees?
I don't remember that.
Really?
I think he said, "I'll pay all of your guarantees if you don't play." That's what it came to
Yeah.
after the first.
and then we ended up just having to wait till
and
like
we were
fucking
like,
the wee
yeah, but we were
small
like,
hours to play our
fuck
show.
you. We're not.
Yeah,
we're
fuck
not,
Bob
we were
Dylan.
like, yo, Bob Dylan, man. We got fans. What do you think?
Yeah.
Our fans are. We have feverish fans that are like,
Yeah.
Hungry for hardcore.
yeah. I mean, come on. Who did this guy?
We're
think he
serving
was?
it up.
He was being a dick.
Were you in Sick of It All when I introduced them to House of Pain? Then that song happened.
That was right before I joined.
Oh, okay, it was a Jump Around remix.
That
was,
came
yeah, that
out
was such a
right
good
when
time.
that came out right when I joined. They're like, check out this thing we just
Yeah,
did.
that was such a
Yeah.
good time back then too. All like crossover shit with hip hop.
Yeah,
And
it's cool to mix it all up.
yeah. Fucking Adam. Any questions? Any more questions, Jim?
Any more questions for Craig ahead?
I got a couple.
The only one I have is I feel like hardcore is a genre that there's always reunions that go on.
Yeah,
And
good,
one
yeah.
reunion that I've always thought that has never happened, and I think people would wig out if it happened, would be One Voice lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some talk of that. You know, there was talk of that happening at the Super Bowl. You know, the Black and Blue Bowl. There was talk of that happening, and it just never really came to anything. If I'm listen, I'm not in. I'm never in town. To get all of that us together at a time when it would work would be hard.
Yeah. And also, I want to say, I think you've always been a smart guy, like with your money and finances and all that, and you have like a crib and like a thing upstate. I think it's really cool you did that with your money. That's from hardcore. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I try. You know, what do I really need?
Yeah.
What do I need?
You're a minimalist.
I'm a minimalist.
You
yeah.
really are.
I mean, I'm not like a minimalist to the point where I'm like living in a van, but I don't need like. I'm not about bling. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
What do I need?
You have vegetables you grow vegetables at your crib
I
and
grow
stuff?
vegetables at my farm and stuff, and so
Sick.
most of the money I spend, the main money I spend is on food, eating good organic, vegetarian food.
Yeah.
I try to eat clean, healthy food that I mainly prepare myself.
Yeah.
So I like to cook, so I do that. And
You were cooking backstage on some of those tours. So
I'm into riding motorcycles now, though. That's like a new thing. I bought like a little dual purpose bike, like a 250, and I was riding it upstate. So I just bought like a Triumph Tiger, a 2018, an 800, and I want to do a trip out to Arizona next year.
Is that part of your midlife crisis, or just want to get it just for the hell of it?
It's both. But I you know what it is? That wind therapy feels great.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
I just love.
Rusty's a big rider
I love
too.
being upstate, and then I get on a bike and
Yeah.
I just go out in the morning and ride all day. It's just such a. It's so
life, dude. Like
therapeutic.
living
It just
life,
feels
yeah.
so
Sounds
good.
like you kind of got it all figured out in the end.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
I enjoy it, but so now I spend I spend a little bit of money on motorcycles, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are you really gonna do with money?
You've always been like that. I think you've always been the smart, like save money,
I
mattress,
save money.
all
I
that
save
shit.
money, but I'm not like a businessman. It's not like I open businesses to be rich.
But you invest in shit.
But
you're smart.
money isn't the drive. It's not like I want more money. I'm not obsessed with money.
No, I know.
I just want to be happy.
But the money you make, you're smart with it.
I want to be happy. Yeah, I want to be happy. I want to set myself where
Yeah.
I feel like I take my mom to my farm almost every time I go.
Yeah.
And we spend the weekends at the farm and we spend time up there. And it's like it's like so nice. Her health is great. My mother's almost 80 years old. Her health is great because we have that place to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you worry about the future?
Take my girl up there. She loves it. It's great.
Do you worry about the future?
Not so much. A little bit. But then I think to myself, everything's good. Life is good.
Yeah, totally.
You're a decent person. You're trying hard to be a good guy.
You've been through some dark times for sure.
Yeah, I've been through dark times, and now I know
That's
like,
a different episode.
So I kind of feel like things are going to work out for me for the most part. Don't worry yourself sick about it. Don't worry. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Do you feel like you got through all the trauma growing up through your music all these years? You still feel like...
Yeah, pretty much.
You ever seen a therapist?
Not really.
Me either.
Once.
I need to see one about my dad.
I saw a therapist one time when all of this stuff came to a head, because in my late teen, early 20s, I'd say all of this came to a head, and that's sort of where I went from being this guy that kind of let people push him, not really push me around, but this guy that was like, oh, okay, I'll just let it happen, and like whatever happened, and I just kind of like didn't really like control situations that I should have controlled, and just let them sort of give everyone too much freedom.
Yeah.
In a way, and then at a certain point, I looked like, something, I gotta like stand up for mine, and at that point, it was like I went a little too far in that direction.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And at that point, I saw a therapist one time. I talk a lot. You
Yeah.
hear me? I just fucking babbled for like 2 hours.
But you seem like you're an optimist.
Left. I'm an optimist. Yeah,
you
know
like
me.
that. Yeah, for sure.
I'm an optimist. I'm happy. I'm an easy target. 'Cause I'm
you
an
can
open
definitely
book.
break balls still, but I know you're still a positive person.
But like, some people are guarded. Like they don't say much. They don't open up. I open up like too much, and people look like, oh, I could throw a snowball at this guy. Bang. And
Kindness for weakness.
Yeah. Plus, it's an easy target. You're like that. You open up a lot.
100%.
And people look like,
see the
I go
weakness.
after you, you go after me, even though we're both the same, pretty much.
But people see weakness there. They see all your cards, your whole deck of cards when you do that.
They see a whole deck of cards. I don't even think it's so much weakness as much as it's just, there's a freedom there.
Yeah. Do you have any daily rituals? Besides coffee? And even Adam make coffee. Adam works out every single day, but...
Not really. I used to have rituals with exercise, physical fitness that I should stick to, but I don't. I really don't stick to my physical fitness. Like boxing used to be every morning, get up and do your boxing stuff. But at a certain point, I look like nobody's going to be hitting me in the head anymore, so there's no threat, so it's not that important. But when I'm home in the morning, as generic as this is, I get up, I go to like a local coffee shop in my neighborhood, and my brother-in-law and his friends are there, and I sit down with them when I'm off tour.
Sick.
And just talk scratch with these like 60-plus-year-old guys.
Yeah.
For like an hour or two, and we just crack jokes on each other and hang out. And I'll do that, and when I do that for a few days in a row, like a week straight, when I'm home, I feel like it like settles me in. It's like, okay, the tour's over, you're home now. So I do that 4 or 5 days, 3 or 4 days in a row. Then I go upstate, and then I can go like twice a week. I'll go see him on like Monday and then again on Wednesday. Yeah, but it calms me down. It's like some settling in thing.
It's something interesting about if you go on tours over a certain duration, when you come home, there's definitely like a turn off switch, but it's like a ship. Like it doesn't stop on a dime. It slows down.
Yeah,
it's really true.
But I can get real lazy when I'm home. When I've been out touring a lot, I can just be like, I'll be like, Jesus, I haven't like done anything in 5 days. I've just been laying down and like taking showers and.
That's true.
That's
true.
Get you
That's true. You're not married. You're not married. That's right.
I live with my girl.
Okay.
Oh.
So it's the same as being married, just without the.
Did you ever want to be a dad?
Yeah, but I it's a hard thing for me because I would love to be a father, and I think
you'd be a great father.
Yeah, you'd be awesome.
But the thing is, it's with my touring schedule.
But the other guys have kids
tough.
and married. The other guys do it too, man. The whole band does it.
Yeah.
You're like the only one.
But I also think that my childhood there's something in the back of my head that scares me about that.
No, I hear you.
I don't walk around afraid about it. But
I think because of that, you'd be even better father.
There's like some shock still in there where I'm like, I can't bring a kid into this, even though I'm nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it seems like you have a good setup to have a kid. You have the thing up, like the farm. You have the regular spot.
Good setup.
Yeah.
Maybe a dog. We talk about getting a dog.
But you're not saying no to not saying no to being a dad ever, right?
No, I'm not saying no. But at this age, I'd have to make a move quick.
Yeah.
My nephew, when I met my whole side of my family from my father's earlier marriage when I was 25. So I met my nephew at the time I was 25. He was like 15 or 16. And we became close friends quickly. And I kind of older brothered him, kind of fathered him, uncled him. I'm his uncle technically.
Yeah.
So he was like a shy kid like I was. And I kind of helped him, taught him about I taught him boxing. Yeah. Which taught him discipline and perseverance. That was like a metaphor for life in a way.
Hell yeah.
And I helped him with girls. He was at the age where he liked girls. And he was shy. He was like I was. He was like really shy and introverted. And I sort of helped him come out of his shell in a way that was like real, like with boxing. It's like, no, we're going to do another round. We're going to do another round. You're going to give me all you got. Come on. like stuff like that. You know what I mean? And with the girl, be nice to her. Don't be too nice, but be nice. You know, like I would teach him little lessons of like how to sort of maneuver. And he's a man with a family now. He's a good.
Wow.
Guy. He's great. He's a great guy. You know, he turned into like a guy like that you could totally count on. Almost scares me a little bit now.
Yeah.
Like, wow, this guy's like a.
It's
This
like a
guy's
kid
like
you
a
could
real.
raise. Yeah,
This guy's
yeah.
like a real go-getter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like you and Adam have similarities of that. Like you came from sheltered experiences and with girls, and you were shy. Then you came out of your show in a band. You guys went kind of wild.
It's kind of wild.
You both were wild guys, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went wild for quite a bit.
Yeah, I followed in your footsteps.
I don't know if it's my footsteps, but yeah, I abused myself for a while.
Yeah, I think you know, like as a young guy, if you were shy and you were insecure, like a lot of people that pick up music,
You're trying to up your self-worth.
Yeah, you get out on the road, and all of a sudden, people are interested in you in that regard. Like
In the
I think
bands,
you
all that.
Of course, you're gonna take advantage of all the opportunities.
all the
presented
stuff
to
that you were scared of, you go and like just like overdose on it.
you. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can get this girl, I can get that girl, I can I can light up this whole room, make friends with everybody in this room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Did you feel
become
like-
the opposite of what you were.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were addicted to it back then, or had a sickness? 'Cause
You remember? You know.
Yeah, but I don't want to get too
You're-
deep if you don't want to. Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah.
you remember like the times when I was like not taking care of myself
Yeah.
well, and I would go crazy and do dumb stuff.
Yeah,
And that was like pain though. That was pain. Like, you know what I mean? That was like
pain from growing up. That's how
growing
you're
up and like being taken advantage of in spots with like, in my early experiences when I was too nice to people.
Yeah,
People like talking to me in a way that showed no respect just because I let them by being too nice. But I don't walk
Yeah.
around with a chip on my shoulder either. If somebody's going to come at me in a certain way, I don't have to really deal with them. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? As long as they don't follow me out the door when I'm leaving, then there's not going to be a problem. But
yeah,
people will look at you like, like, oh, I could take from this guy. I guess you can, but I guess you can, but what are you really getting?
yeah.
You got no shot of being anywhere near me again. You know what I
You,
mean?
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
to take it once.
You have to take it once, and that's it. You know what I mean? And then most of the people that did that later on would be like, "Oh man, you're doing pretty well. Like I saw you on TV," and I'm like, okay, yeah. I've had girls that have like, oh, you're always on tour and this and that and that and this and that and this, and they do something stupid, and I'm like, nah, we're not friends anymore. That's it. And they look like later on, like, oh, I wanna see you again. No. Now that I started making some money and then you see me on TV, you want to be my buddy. Not that I'm all that, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
It's like what do you think this is? You know what I mean? What do you think I am? You know what I mean? I'm not saying pride to a fault. I'm just saying like I'm worth something.
You feel like you had your guard up your whole life because you've been taken advantage of for sure.
Yeah, but I try not to be that way.
Yeah.
I still want to be open. I still want to be like the way you are, the way I am.
Yeah.
We're open to a point where we're easy to throw a dart at and hit. The whole board's open. Just throw the dart. You're gonna hit something. But if I'm guarded, that's not me being me.
It's not, man.
That's not my nature.
You got to swing from one all the way to the other, then the pendulum comes back and sits right in the middle, which is the best place for it.
Well said.
It's really well said. It's
Thank
true
you.
though.
You guys talk. I'll let me. Just,
No, but I feel like Adam. I feel like you guys have been through a lot of shit, and now here you are, still playing music, and
yeah,
it's awesome, man.
it's good. Yeah, I'm happy about
we
it.
kind of won kind of won.
Kind of won.
Yeah.
It looked like we were losing a lot of that time, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
sacrifice, man. A lot of sacrifice,
Yeah.
and we don't really know what the end game is going to be. Obviously, we keep playing. If kids keep coming, we love playing. You know what I mean? Like,
Endgame's a weird thing.
yeah,
Like I was talking to some family members about, like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I'm not too worried about it. They're
No.
like, but you should. And I'm like, well, what is there to do these days? They're like, well, and they look at the end. In the end, they're like, what are you really gonna do? You're not gonna go to school at this point.
yeah.
really.
At 50
You know
years
what I
old,
mean?
I'm going to college. Yeah,
No, you're not doing that.
I mean, all
And
of us.
business is like such a trap. Like dealing with the world, like it's like a lot of it's a big trap.
yeah,
All of us.
Depending on what you're doing, obviously.
We all started on a path when we were basically children, and we're still. It was something that seemed like a ridiculous dream almost, and then like here we are, like you're 30, 25 years later, still living that dream.
Half of
know,
it was
man.
being lazy and just wanting to like run out and play all day instead of doing your work. That's a
Yeah.
lot of it too. It's like you were like the lazy kid that
deal with reality.
somehow didn't deal with reality, but somehow found this magical place that's half twisted, and you're there now, and you're like, wow, how did me being lazy with responsibility and only doing what I wanted to do turn into a good life?
It's
That
fucking crazy, man.
that's looked at as like a success story. I don't really understand that.
And we're still big kids
I
too.
do, but-
regardless if you're married, Adam, and we have a house and mortgage, and you own houses too. It's like
My mortgage is almost up. My mortgage is up this year.
But we're still a big kid. You're still a big kid, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because when going on tour is not reality. There's no responsibility but playing a show.
But that reality we thought that we had to adhere to.
Yeah.
The, like, you know, the adult, you know, 2.5 children type thing. You know what I mean? It's not reality.
Yeah.
That's a hollow dream. And I'm not saying a family isn't good.
Yeah.
I'm saying all the trappings that go with it that society puts on you is like a hollow dream. The unit, the family unit, the love, the communication, that's not a trap.
It's not.
I'm just saying that what you thought you had to live up to, you didn't have to live up to it financially. You had to live up to it emotionally.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah. 100%. And I feel like all of our
That
success.
being said, I'm scared to have kids.
But I'm saying all of our success right here is not based on money. It's based on still doing what we love and inspiring people and fucking being healthy. You know what I mean? Like it's not about money.
By being fuck ups, we did something good.
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, I was always looking. I thought I was looked at as always like the stupid roadie who shit himself, did pussy boy, run around, did stupid shit. I wasn't supposed to do anything, and you know what I mean? I was a joke. My band, and everything.
But you were the same. We were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
The only difference was I put years into playing an instrument. So,
Yeah.
okay, so what did you do? You liked all the same music. You heard it, and you have a musical ear, so it didn't take much for you to...
Yeah.
It's not about like, oh, this guy is so talented. That doesn't mean that much. It means what you do. You know what I mean?
None of us are real musicians when that band started. You were. You played, but like Rusty didn't play guitar before.
Yeah.
Our friend still plays drums wild. He's my boy. I love
That's
him.
how it goes.
You know what I'm saying, Adam? Like it just works for us.
That doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
No, people look like, oh, you must be really good. I'm like, I can play well, but I don't need to play really well. I need to play what I play well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like you need to be some like fancy Dan or anything like that. You just need to, you know.
It's funny. I went to music school full time for a year, and I've never used a single thing I learned.
I bet.
In the field.
I bet.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Never like runs and stuff like that.
I mean, nothing that like I wasn't doing before I went to music school. You know what I mean? Like, when still trying to be Steve Harris.
When you run this to that, you just know it
yeah,
instinctively.
it's just there. I don't know if it's mixolydian, alien. I don't know any of that scale stuff.
I know some of those terms, but I never think them.
No,
I never sit there and think them when I'm
Yeah,
playing.
can you read music?
I can read tablature, but not music.
Yeah, Max is reading music.
I've been working on reading music, and you know, I just need to do it steadily for a few weeks to have it down. I read tab just to figure out old Motown lines.
Yeah, but, that's cool.
It would be it would be good to read music. I mean, I could do it. I've started doing it. I just haven't gotten it down to a point where it's automatic. Like I could read it and play it like through. I could if I spent like a month working on it an hour a day.
Yeah, I mean, I learned to sight read bass clef, and I've once again the minute I left music school, I've never sight read bass clef since.
Yeah, you know, tab is like
tab is like painting by numbers. I love it.
Tab is just so you can like, how does that bass line go? So you don't have to sit there and figure when you're figuring out James Jamerson lines. Yeah. Instead of going the long route.
Buy that Standing in the Shadows of Motown book and get to work.
And then you go. And so, but a lot of those lines though, like when you study his lines. You think about the root chords, you know, and then you see how he combines it, and it's like, okay, I get what this guy's doing. I fully get it. I use that sometimes in the stuff I do. I wrote a line for a song on the new album, and actually Armand came up with the part of the line, and then he got me going. He goes, something like this. I go, oh, that's good. And then I changed it, and then I put in another part, and it sounds like it's a total James Jamerson bass line. And it just popped out. And that's because leading up to the recording of the last album, I was playing Motown stuff at home on my acoustic bass, playing along to records and like, you know, brushing up on all that stuff.
It's awesome.
Totally wrote like a Jamerson line. You wouldn't be able to tell because it's a hardcore song. It's like an Oi song. But I'm like, oh, it sounds like that's like something Jamerson would do. You know what I mean?
I think one of the greatest things about music is that you could put on a record, play along with that record, and you can feel a little bit like what the guy making that record felt. You know what I mean? If you put on like, I don't know, like a Ramones record and you play along with it, you kind of feel like you're a Ramone.
Yeah, you get
that little taste.
You get the little taste. Yeah. It's crazy though sometimes with like bass players, like certain styles you hear a fill or a run and you just can do it right in a second. But then a guy like Jamerson has his own little signature things he does, and they're not your signature thing. So you hear it, and to do it, it feels weird. You're like, I can do this, but it's like I would do something a little different. Yeah. So you put your own flavor in there, but you also want to learn exactly how he does it, so you can get his little signature, quick little snap fills. I'll call them snap fills because they're like little jump-ins. Yeah. But each guy has his own little snap fill routine.
Some bass mafia talk.
Yeah,
right?
It
some
is.
BS,
We're
bass
discussing. We're
mafia.
discussing the low end.
Craig, what is some advice you can give somebody that wants to start a band or be a musician?
Play because you like to. Don't
Yeah,
play
because you
because
love
you
it.
don't play because you have to. Play what you like, and you can change it up, but don't change it up because I don't like this anymore. This sucks. Now I like this because now I'm more underground than you. Just play what you like.
I feel like you guys never change your shit either.
You know what it is?
We got a more singy here and there,
Yeah, you got
a
to.
little oi a
though.
little bit here and there, but like you guys never like.
Those influences are always there. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Like I'm into like a lot. We're all into oi and
Yeah.
like DC same
DC
stuff,
shit,
stuff
yeah.
that influence you guys.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. You know what I mean? Obviously the Ramones, but like the way we play so heavy-handed that anything we play sounds like us because we're very like aggressive players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm always like Armand. I'm like, stop trying to play so hard and pull back on this. He's like, I can't. And I'm like, okay. Like he can't not play like super hard. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he's
It's
a sick drummer.
it's the way he plays though. But he's got that style. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I want to end this with the Ian MacKaye story.
Oh, you talking about the song?
Yeah.
So I forget what album it was. I think it was maybe Yours Truly. So Trevor Silmsler, you know.
Shout him out. He's the one who told me to start a podcast. Shout out, Trevor.
Trevor, what's up, T-Bone? Trevor Silms was my buddy. He actually helped Sick of It All with management
Yeah, he did.
years ago. And so he was helping us with, he was like managing us. And
You have a great voice for this, by the way. Your voice sounds amazing on this.
I usually sound squeaky.
Sounds great. Go ahead.
Okay, probably because I got a sore throat.
Go ahead.
I'm babbling so much.
Sounds like Paul Giamatti, that actor for some reason.
What? That guy's a good actor.
Great. Your voice sounds like him. Go ahead.
Billions is a good show.
Great. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, we were talking. Hey, it would be great to get Ian MacKaye to sing. Ian MacKaye, I'll call him, to sing on.
It's MacKaye, but go ahead.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
Go ahead.
sing on one of our songs. So Trevor reaches out to him and he goes, "Yeah, I'll check it out." Okay, cool. So we had a rehearsal tape, where it was just like a little tape recorder. It's like the 90s. Little tape recorder in a room. So it just sounds like pure white noise. It's like you hear click, 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 click. It just sounds like noise, right?
Yeah.
So I had this little thing at home where you could play a tape and you could put another track over it, but it was like real, like ghetto, like not pro. You could just like loop something else onto the tape and it would stand out in a weird way and it wouldn't sound right. So what happened was,
These are called like scratch vocals, kind of, right?
it was just, so I'd written the last song on that record. I was like, Lou, I have the vocal line. I go, there's a melody there, and I would hum the melody to him. And I was like, I'm just going to give you the cadence, because the cadence was weird. I go, I'm going to whisper onto this thing I have to put it over the noisy rehearsal track.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just did like a, and it totally doesn't match the music because it's like white noise, but he got the timing of the words. I had the words on the sheet, so he would look at the sheet and he'd be ba, 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 and then it was up to him. And I said, once you get the cadence down, we'll work on the little lines. It had a little tail. It had a slight melody to it. He goes, okay. So we made this tape. So the tape was of the song that we're going to ask him to sing on. So I think that I went to see Trevor in the city, and I was like, yo, T, give this to Lou. He's coming in later or the next day. I would give this to Lou. He needs to get this tape. It's that song so he understands the vocals. So Trevor, not thinking, is like, oh, it's that song with the vocal line? And he sends it to Ian. And it's like the most embarrassed. It's the craziest sounding thing you've ever heard. If you would have heard this, you'd be like, what is this? This is like, it would be the funniest thing you ever heard in your life.
So the hardest music with like the humming in it, like yeah.
Not even hard, just like the noisiest crap, like non-music, just with and I'd say stuff like hold the end, like it was like stuff like it was done in like a way not for listening, just for him to read the paper and get started.
And that's what Ian got.
And that's what he got. And he was like, I don't think I'll be, I think this, it doesn't sound like it's right for me to sing on it, but good luck with the record. I'm sure it's going to be really good.
That song made the record?
Yeah.
Damn.
And I think we sent him the record and he's like, wow, it's really good. I think he said something like, wow, it sounds good. Like, wow. I think he was shocked, like, wow, what the hell?
That's amazing, man.
But he must have known we were a real band. So he must have been like, what is this? But yeah, he didn't sing
You
on
have
that one.
any more questions for Craig?
He didn't sing on that record.
Nothing.
Do you have any last one? Do you have any regrets?
Regrets?
Yeah. With your career or anything? Or just anything?
With my career, not so much. I wish I would have messed around with other music a little more.
Yeah.
I did on the side, but never anything I put out. I should have just put out everything.
Creep Division was awesome too.
That was fun. That was
Yeah.
fun. I have like acoustic based stuff I wrote that I should just put out.
We still can.
It's just like pretty music. You know what I
I
mean?
writes pretty stuff too. Yeah.
Like I still could, I guess. Yeah. I have other regrets personally, like dumb stuff. Like
Yeah.
should have knocked this guy out. Should have knocked that. I was too nice to this person. People I should
Should have
have
dumped that girl earlier.
Should have dumped that girl earlier. Should have should have spit in her face and punched the guy in the
Regrets
face.
of being human.
But that regrets of
cost
being, human.
human.
But at the
Cost
same
of being
time, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You're going on tour. You live hundreds of miles away, or these are people you don't see. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna spend more time in a situation that's shit?
Yeah.
Just fucking put it behind you and keep going. You know what I mean?
Top 5 most influential musicians or artists. I'm gonna do it too.
You talking about bands or
Yeah,
players?
just whatever band, artist. Yeah.
Black Sabbath, Geezer Butler.
Sick. OG Vegan too. What up?
Yep. Bad Brains.
Yeah.
And Daryl is a bass player.
Huge.
Sick.
Amazing.
You got to say the Ramones just because they kind of are the spark of all of this.
And Queens represent.
And Queens represent. So just based on Queens and the spark, and I love the band.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say I was into the Ramones in the 70s because I wasn't. I discovered them
Later on, yeah.
later on. But yeah, the Ramones, you can't play with that.
Ramones, Bad Brains, Black Sabbath, so good. So far.
I don't know who else.
You can't say a band you were in though, right?
No, really. I'm not going to say a
AF,
band I was in.
so
I can't.
good.
AF's like Victim in Pain is like the poster child album for hardcore.
Yeah.
New York. If you had to describe New York hardcore to somebody 100 years from now, you'd say, "Listen to this," and you'd give them Victim in Pain.
Yeah.
Because that really describes it to me. That's the essence of New York hardcore right there. I
That'd
listened to it on the plane coming here.
They have to be
Actually,
in the top 5 then, I think.
that is like that album is like New York hardcore without any attitude. I mean,
Yeah.
other attitude than what it really is.
Yeah.
It's a test. It's a landmark from a time, like a time capsule from that era of New York City.
Yeah.
What about hip hop? No hip hop.
I got to give Danny local props for helping me for watering the seed.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, probably not hip hop. It's not my top 5. I'm just talking about 5 things that were influential.
No, I hear
to
you.
me.
Black Sabbath.
John Entwistle from The Who. I used to learn all his bass lines when I was a kid because he was all over the place, and I was like, I learned box patterns and how to combine stuff, and I was like, okay, this is pretty simple the way this guy plays, but it sounds so good. Simple, but it's like good. You know what I mean? I learned a lot from him. And as far as influence, I love Minor Threat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's good. Minor Threat, Black Sabbath, Bad Brains.
Yeah.
AF.
The Who.
The Who. That's a good one. What about you, Adam? What'd you go for 5?
5. Iron Maiden for sure.
Damn.
Maiden, I like the first 2 albums a lot.
I like the Dickinson eras, like
Not
close
so
to
much.
my
I saw him on that a couple times. Like I went to see him play, but I didn't really.
Stop bragging, bro.
He wasn't. No, I'm saying he wasn't as good.
No, I know.
I saw him at the Alamo too. It was better.
Are we talking
Even
just
though it
music
wasn't
or everything?
technically as
Whatever. I
good.
say top 5. Yeah, whatever.
Bruce Lee for sure.
Damn, number 1 Bruce
Bruce
Lee.
Bruce Lee's a bad.
Yeah, Bruce Lee, because like as you become a Bruce Lee fan and you learn a little bit more about the philosophy, you learn, and it's kind of punk rock in a way. It's a lot about
Evander
questioning an
Holyfield.
established dogma, and
Evander Holyfield was a big influence.
yeah,
to me
and
like
being
that,
willing to
because he
to-
never
to
gave up and he was
strip it
smaller.
down. Wow, it's hard. I gotta give Ray Cappo props
Nice.
for being the person, the through his lyrics, like influencing me
Yeah.
to open my mind up to spirituality, which
I get
wasn't
that.
something I was particularly open to. God, I don't know. 5. It's like this.
How about
it's
Jimmy
like
G
this-
for exposing you to women?
Jimmy G and Todd were the people, and my brothers in
Teach you
H2O
good
were the
time,
people
too.
that took me out of being a shy, nerdy kid who went
Yeah.
on to live in a Hare Krishna temple and basically
Word.
live a monastic lifestyle. And were like, "Hey, bud, look at this." They open like the
Playboy.
the sweetie shop, the candy store. To
They,
me,
they
you know
opened.
what I
They
mean?
opened Playboy
Yeah.
and gave you a joint.
How many is that? Is that 3, 4?
It's 3.
That's 3. Oh my god, I gotta do 2 more. 2 more artists that had massive influence on me.
Yeah. Oasis? No. What's the other?
Nah,
What's the other
yeah,
English
but
band?
I love those. I love those Britpop bands, but they
Yeah.
didn't impact me
Like
that
hard- like
deeply as a person.
Yeah.
Um,
AC/DC?
uh,
It's really hard to say.
It's
who
really hard,
specifically
like-
influenced
No,
you,
I
'cause these are
know.
bands I like.
be- because
Yeah.
like if you asked me when I was
Geezers,
13, I could have
definitely.
answered the question. But you asked me now as how old am I? What is it?
46.
46. A 46-year-old man. I have a lifetime of influences and movies and
Yes,
books,
different
Yeah,
and
eras and
sure.
different
conversations that I've
different
had with
different
people
parts of your
and
personality
experiences
that
that
was
have shaped,
bridged by
that
different
that
experiences.
lead you. You know what I mean?
Tony Robbins would have been one back
Tony
then.
Robbins is huge. I love Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
So potentially him. He definitely inspired me in realizing that you can re-engineer your own brain, which is pretty.
Yeah, you did that too, for sure.
Yeah.
You definitely did that.
I can't think of this is a horrible answer. I can't think of 5 people.
My brother-in-law Charlie helped me. He like taught me like you can do business without being afraid because you're the one doing the business. You control it.
Yeah, that's true.
He taught me how to like take command in a business situation. Totally doesn't work with Armand because he's a control freak, but it works when I'm doing my own financials.
Yeah.
You know, he taught me how to drive the deal, and I was like, it's kind of like Tony Robbins type stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and I look like this is me and my stuff. I got to be the one in charge.
Yeah.
So that was a big influence to me.
And you maneuvered pretty well from leaving high school at such a young age and just getting your GED. You did a lot in your life.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you haven't done bad, man. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of this conversation.
You're
Don't
joking.
start that. What about you, bud? 5-year plan. You know what?
Yeah, who's your top 5, Toby?
No, I'm
Morse?
talking about 5-year plan. You know what 5-year plan's about? It's about how this guy in like what year? 1994. How he had basically 5 years to live before it all collapses. That's really what it's about.
It's pretty true. 5 years from now, wow. And it turned into 25 years, man.
But I used to say the same thing. Like, what am I going to do? I'm in this band.
Yeah.
We used to say that to each other.
It's
like,
true. It is true.
I was like, where are you going to go?
I wrote my own history, I guess, in a sense, writing that song. What am I going to do in 5 years? And then
it's a
push
timeless
myself.
question. You can ask that question now.
Yeah.
5 years from now, where will I be?
Yeah, it's true, man.
Yeah, but now it's not so bad.
Yeah. But back then, I was like, what is the future going to entail? Am I going to do this band? Is this going to happen? Like, it's a good point,
It was a weird
man.
turning point.
It was a really weird turning point.
It was where it went from like our hobby fun thing and we were kids messing around to like, this is what we're going to do for pretty much forever.
Yeah.
It's like, which is, I'm happy about it.
Yeah. I mean, he went from shelter, fired, back to England, 2 weeks later, back trying out for H2O.
Actually, I never tried out for H2O.
Oh, you
just like you guys are in the band.
Oh, shit.
You're
Perfect.
in the band. And I was like, okay, thanks, guys.
But you got the disease. We all got it.
Mhm.
It's in our blood. We all have the disease. We all have the blood disease. That's music.
Yeah.
And our particular music, it's like a slightly twisted form of that disease. But we all have that disease.
Yeah.
It doesn't leave. It doesn't go away. Boxing's the same way. You get like that in your blood, and it's like you're obsessed with it your whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm anywhere in the world and something comes on the speakers and it's got a great riff, my right hand just starts going. You know what I mean? I can't help it. It just starts moving. The fingers start trying to find it in the air. You know, it's never leaves you.
It's there. Yeah.
And just think about life if you didn't have it. Like if we just stayed home now, we're just married, stayed home, did other things, and didn't have the way to go out there and play music. It's so scary thinking about. It sucks.
That's kind of scary for
that
me.
release. You know what I mean?
I would have no regrets because I'm incredibly proud of the stuff we've done.
True.
But there would be a little hole there. I would miss it.
Imagine never going on tour again.
And we've been off for a little while, too.
Imagine music being 100% over from this day forward.
Yeah,
it would
man.
just be traumatic as hell.
It's so traumatic, man.
It would be hard.
But sometimes you're out there like, man, I'm going to go home.
Oh, yeah. When you're out there, you're getting battered. You want to come back and like chill.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I got another 8 shows to go. Not even 15 shows to go.
But then
my knee's killing me. God, I got to do this. I got to sleep in this bus. This guy's annoying me. You know what I mean? Like,
but you're doing what you love, and it's crazy, man. That balance, man.
But if you didn't have the option to go out there and complain about what you were doing, you'd be in a bad spot.
If we weren't going to run into each other at some point this summer in a field in the middle of Europe, eating a bunch of mystery food, you know.
Yeah, you look back on it as great times.
Yeah.
You know, they are great times.
Yeah, I know.
We've been blessed.
I know. People say that word. You shouldn't say the word blessed, but I feel like you pay your dues, you work hard to get where you're at. But it's a blessing to still have that happening.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I was just saying this. I did Isaac's podcast, the Danny Diablo.
Yeah.
Diablo's Den, and I was saying how like, you know, I could be standing before the man, you know what I mean, after I pass, and I could see him saying, you know, you've done well. You sang songs like we spoke of earlier. You sang songs that people related to. You touched people's hearts and gave them some drive. Meanwhile, you cleansed yourself of your early trauma.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah.
pat me on the head, tell me I did a good job as Craig.
Maybe Big Charlie will introduce
true.
you.
Yeah, maybe Big Charlie will introduce me.
No, it's really true.
Waiting at the gate, bouncing. Yeah, like maybe, you know, I'm thinking like it's a. I think we did well, like we talked about earlier.
You could have turned out way different, man, with what you went through.
Yeah, we're not supposed to like take over the world. We're not supposed to get ultra rich. We're supposed to touch each other in a gentle way. Wait a minute, that didn't come out right. Wait a minute. Sorry,
That
Toby.
sounds so
Sorry,
bad.
Toby.
No, you know what I mean? It's supposed to touch each other's hearts and inspire
Yes, we're supposed to
people.
touch each other.
Not physically,
no,
mentally,
we're
and
supposed
spiritually.
we're supposed to touch.
No, it does get lonely on tour sometimes.
Well, we're supposed to touch each other and spark some kind of
Yeah.
emotional response that goes into action. We're supposed to give each other things to think about that will grow into things that are positive and beyond the typical things you'd expect. We're supposed to go a little further and try a little harder.
And we travel around the world, and we get to play music to rooms full of people that are basically just their own version of us going on the same journey. You know,
That's
they
really
listen
true,
to the
man.
same music.
We're
they have the
communicating on a human level,
Yeah.
which is really a noble thing to do.
That's what people need always.
Yeah,
It never goes away. People always need it.
it's a noble thing.
We for 45 minutes, maybe we make people's lives better. Maybe they get to take the night off.
You ever been?
Oh,
That's two now.
You've been up there thinking like, God, I'm on tour so long, I can't wait to go home, and you feel like you're going through the motions, and then like you're doing it, and you're like, oh, and then you'll be in your bunk at night sleeping, the bus rattling, you'll be like, van rattling, you'll be like, you know something, like, step it back, think about what you're doing, get back to strip all the.
it's hard when you're in it though.
Strip all the pain in the ass you're dealing with right now, and how your back hurts, and all this BS, and how you need to go. Think about what you're doing and when you started this and where you are now, and you smile and you think, this is great, good, okay.
Yeah.
You get back to the root of it, and you think, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Yes.
Yeah.
You humble yourself. You're like, not humble yourself. You just strip away all the temporary discomfort.
Because I could sit here right now with Adam and look at him in the face and say, dude, I can't wait. We have all these shows coming up this summer.
So excited.
We're going to be in the bus for 21 days. I guarantee.
On day 17,
I guarantee
you guys
on the
gonna
day
be
10,
shot.
I'm looking at, I'll be backstage. I'm like this. I can just.
Sucks.
But right now, looking
to
at
be
not being in it,
yeah,
it's different, you
yeah.
know? It's
Yeah.
so crazy.
You're half shot when you're out there.
I'm
Like,
looking
God.
so forward to it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, 21 days sounds awesome now.
I would say
but-
if it's 21 days in a van, we'd be having
Oh,
a very
no. It
different
takes years off your
discussion.
life.
Yeah.
Years.
Freddie Madball said that once. Like, don't ever tour in a van in Europe. It takes years off your life.
It does. They tour in vans in Europe all the time.
But they do
hard.
both too, though. But yeah.
I think they do shorter
But
ones.
you know
in
what I'm saying
vans.
now? Like right now, it's great, and
Yeah.
we're together, and I see you like I'll see you pacing backstage, trying to find a gym or something.
Yeah,
like
just trying to do something.
those 23 hours before you play, it's like so
But
much
I
shit.
feel like right now we've been off what, 7 months?
Really?
Nah. Wait, we were 5 months. We last shows were November.
October,
Right?
no?
No, when was the East?
You played Cali show in October.
Was that October or November?
Yeah, October.
All right, so October, November, December, January, February. This is March.
Yeah.
5 months off. It'll be 6,
Wow.
7, 8 months.
Wow, it's a long time.
And guess what?
I
We
haven't
ain't
had 8
going
months.
practice.
I haven't had 8 months off. I haven't had 8 months off in my whole life.
He said we ain't gonna
No,
practice.
you don't practice.
No, you
anymore.
shop.
But
And that
we're,
makes-
we're all
You rehearse, you jam when you're writing an album. Otherwise, you don't
Yeah.
practice.
Otherwise, that's the best part because you step on stage and it's all new again.
Yeah.
It's fresh.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And that's the best.
We understand each other though. There's like a connection here with
Yeah.
other people that tour. You understand this thing that we do. Other people don't understand that.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
mean much. Like it doesn't make them your relationship to them. It just it's like I look you in the eye. It's there. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
You know what I
Even
mean?
even
You
Mick
know.
even Mick Jagger shits in a porta potty once in a while.
Yeah, there's like that
Yeah.
understanding of
Yeah.
like, oh, he's been through this. He
Yeah.
knows
Yeah.
what this is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I want to thank you for the tough love you gave when he moved to New York, like the Gatia games
Love
and
you,
the poke
bud.
and the poking that. It made me a stronger person, gave me thicker skin, and I realized looking back on it now that it was all out of, I know it was out of love, and it continues out throughout our life. We still fuck with each other here and there, but it's
Yeah.
all out of love. Like if something happened to us, God forbid, we'd be fucking devastated.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If somebody fucked you, we always have each other's back.
Yeah.
It's
It's
always
that
been
other
like
guy
that.
in my thing, you gotta watch out
It's-
for.
it's-
You figure out which one.
But it's always been like that. You know what I mean? Though it's always been this tough love, ball breaking, shit talking, all this shit. I even talked to Jimmy about it on the podcast the other day, and he's like, "Dude, I talked about you on stage last week, make fun of you for being PMA and straight edge. This joke, but it's all like this
Yeah.
love, and it's like it's this New York thing. I feel like it's no other scenes like that. It's
True.
tough love, man.
And for me,
You
and
got some of that from us too, yeah.
Yeah. Any time a bass player jumps off a monitor in hardcore or wears camo shorts or sneakers, it's all they're all giving a little nod to Craig ahead.
Oh
Sure.
my god. Yeah, this guy got battered early and often. This one,
Yeah,
Adam, he took some
he
shots.
did. He
early
takes some
on.
I
shots.
took some licks,
You
but
could
I
see,
came
you
out
could
right.
see the slightly glassy eyes. Or
But
something.
look how good he looks now, though.
Yeah, the guy's
I'm a late
like
fucking
I'm a late
beast.
bloomer.
this guy's like
Talking of-
he's
talking
an
like Bloomer,
Adonis.
Top
He's the
Monsters
Adonis of the
Goodbye.
hardcore scene.
Huh?
But
He's
he
the
li-
Adonis of the hardcore scene.
Oh, thank you.
but
Thank you. That
he
is too kind.
came a long
That
way,
is too
man.
kind.
Yeah.
Too kind.
If you guys seen Adam a while, Adam trains people, and he's in great shape. He's 46 years old.
Oh,
got
the
a
guy's
full,
like a Greek
got a
god.
freight full of hair, Good body. He's in good shape.
What about the hair? What are you saying?
No, his hair looks great. Yeah, I'm
All
not
right,
telling
all
me.
All right.
I'm chilling.
What are you trying to say?
And real quick, sick of it all. I used to break my balls my entire life and told me that I was going bald. I shaved my head with a Bic razor for like 5 years.
This is great.
And now I'm looking at Craig. He's completely bald.
Completely bald.
But they made fun of me so. He had great hair too. And I remember
had
you
great
ripped
hair.
on stage with the camo pants.
Young
Craig,
Craig
dude.
ahead.
Yeah,
was
what
like
happened?
A fox. Young Craig ahead.
Yeah.
Well, fuck.
But yo,
Damage. Doing
What happened?
damage.
What
he
happened?
definitely, they had me, I had a complex that I was completely bald. So I shaved my bald for years, skin bald, and now like,
The old game.
but now I got the same widow's peak. And
Yeah, it's true. It held up pretty well.
thank you, man. Thank you. I know you're trying to
know?
get me in your stupid club. I'll never be in your club. But,
Stupid club.
you know what I'm talking about, Craig.
It's been awesome.
I got the least hair here. It's all right.
It's been a wonderful discussion.
So did we cover, Craig, you think we're good? We covered a lot of good things?
I think it went well. I
Was
just hope I
really-
didn't babble too much.
No,
about
you did
nonsense.
great, dude. We told good stories. And
I need
yeah, I'll do it right now,
I
yeah.
need his autograph.
We'll do
It's like we had like a boys club vibe going a little bit. That's what I'm trying to say. Maybe a little too much boys club vibe. You know what I
dude,
mean?
we're just talking,
But we're
man.
just talking. You
People
know?
just want to hear real conversations. There's no agenda. We're just talking about life. We
Yep.
met each other back then. All the stuff you've done in your life. Adam Blake's here.
Listen, anytime. Like
We're not perfect people,
If
dude.
you ever want to do this again in a
Yeah.
different format with other people mixed
Yeah,
in,
totally.
you know, we'll talk some scratch.
But dude,
Whatever
Craig,
works.
you've been through a lot, and I'm glad you opened up about the shit you've been through and therapy and all that stuff. It's important, man.
Absolutely.
Because you gotta be good in your head too. You know what I mean?
You know what it is. You can never pretend things don't mean something when they do, because
Yeah.
you're only hurting yourself. It's all going to come back to you. It's going to echo back to you. You
can't,
might as well
you can't
take.
hide from it. Yeah.
You got to talk up when you have trauma and pain. You have to actually face it, because if you try to run from it, you're going to wind up doing drugs.
Yeah.
You know, or
It's safe to say that music saved all of our lives. You know. In
yeah,
a sense.
you're gonna abuse yourself,
Right, Adam?
in one way or another.
Yeah.
100%. Dude, without music,
Without music, yes.
sometimes I imagine a door number 2.
Yeah.
Are we recording this?
Yeah, man.
So sometimes I imagine a door number 2 where I never got the call to go join shelter.
Yeah.
Like it or if I had got the call and I had said no,
Mm-hmm.
and it terrifies me. It
English
terrifies
factory worker.
Oh, just what
yeah,
life would have
but
been.
just because I look at the life that I've been fortunate enough to lead versus where my life was heading, if that
Yeah.
kind of wild left turn hadn't come at me,
Yeah, man.
man,
I hear ya.
I'm thankful for that. every
It all
day.
happens for a reason, man.
Yeah, I have no idea what would happen to me. I probably would have been doing drugs and had some crappy job. Who knows? Then again, maybe the light would have shined through me again at some point, just through a different medium. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Music therapy really opens you up, though.
Yeah.
It takes a long time and
But
a
it-
lot of miles and a terrible van.
And it still continues. It still continues.
Still continues. Yeah.
So the people listen, we want to let you know we appreciate playing music. We appreciate all the people,
Absolutely.
all the people who supported our bands unconditionally for many, many years. We love what we do. You know, it is, you know, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a sacrifice. We leave our families. We miss all kinds of things happening in the real world at
Yep.
home. But we love doing it. We're lucky to still do it. We thank you guys for doing it. People who are growing up with us, bringing their kids to our shows, fucking they're 50 years old coming to our shows. Like, it's
Do
awesome.
your thing. You don't have to fit in. Be yourself.
Yeah.
You could be you be the individual you are and shine and do your thing. Don't
100%.
let anybody take you down because you're not quote unquote normal. Live your life. Be proud. Do your thing.
Never give up.
That's right.
Thank you, Craig, for being here.
Absolutely.
It's
Thank you,
fucking
brother.
awesome, man. This was awesome.
Nice. Thank you.
Some Tony Robbins shit right here. Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to do the next one.